Gather the boys around the radio, park the truck and turn it up, it's time for the show. JB and JC and Mad Dog Mully, it's a power three for these amigos, a lunchtime meet and treat, a power trio. With guests and fans that really rock, it's time to talk 3 hours about those damn Gamecocks. So grab a sandwich, soup, or beer, and let's go. It's time for the show. Oh no, it's time for TG. Gamecock Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Built by the Barndominium Company, presented by Restock Pros of the Midlands, and part of the Chief Sports Network.
Touchdown Carolina! Touchdown Ace Sanders! Pressure! And he just dives in!
Here's JC Shurburtt, Phil Mullinax, and Jamie Bradford.
All right, everybody. Good morning. Welcome in and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the show, kicking off on a Monday here. coming down the pike to Christmas time, guys. Hope everybody's ready, or as ready as you're going to be, or ready to be ready, however that looks on y'all's end of things. I know it's still a little chilly in my house. Got through this weekend roughing it with a kerosene heater and an electric space heater.
They haven't got that dang thing fixed
today. We had to wait on a part to come in.
A part, huh?
God knows where. Yeah.
How convenient.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So fortunately, it hasn't been that chilly this weekend. I'll put it that way. It could have been a lot worse. It could be next weekend when it's supposed to be dipping down into the 20s, which really would have made this an adventure. And almost like camping, but if it doesn't come today, then I and my family will be finding a room somewhere because I've already been told.
Mike Morgan, if he was there, would be bundled up like he was in Aspen, Colorado, about to go.
Oh yeah, I'd be.
Mike is not. Mike does not feel the cold. It's that Florida blood, South Florida blood, dude. He's like, trust me, man. Mike is not. He's
not digging
not
it.
A fan.
You know, it's funny. The first 10 years of my life were north of the Mason-Dixon line. So as a kid, I mean, we played football in the snow. I used to love the winter. You played football in the leaves in the fall, and this is when boys were boys. Like you played tackle. You had one game called Kill the Man with the Ball. There was another nickname for that we can't share.
No.
And you just
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. Whoever picked up the ball, like the other 12 kids, their job was to tackle you and pound you into the dirt. That's what we did. And then in the snow, it was fantastic. But over time, I've gotten soft. You mentioned 20s. Now, 20s is a whole different level of cold. I mean, that's just I don't know what the 32 is the degree of freezing, right? Where water turns to ice. So when you get below freezing, now I got a problem. Now, look, say what you will, JC's right. I am soft when it comes to cold weather, but I've in these travels now. I've been everywhere from Green Bay to Cleveland to Baltimore, and then even in the SEC, Missouri is freezing cold in the winter. Arkansas's got brutal weather. I mean, you don't realize how good you have it in South Carolina and Georgia until you've gone to a winter game in Fayetteville or Como. Because they might as well be in the Northeast.
Yeah. Well, Como is like it's right there. It's like middle Illinois. I mean, Illinois, and Illinois is vast prairie. As cold as it is in Chicago, I wouldn't. I mean, on the prairie, like there's no trees there, so the wind just goes. It's like sitting in front of a fan blowing off an iceberg, and you're naked, and your house is an igloo.
Yeah, that's about right.
Now I've got naked Eskimos in my head. God, guys.
What a way to kick off the week.
Nothing worse than that. But anyway,
you never know.
Sure
it'd be a good-looking Eskimo.
Yeah, right.
I've never seen
talking
one
like a...
Maybe you're Inuit.
There are some.
Kathy Ireland.
I need to research
part
that.
Eskimo. I don't know.
Kathy Ireland, the kicker from Necessary Roughness. Anyway, so we got a pretty good
we do now. Let's get right off the top. I know what people want to hear. Give us the latest portal power rankings.
Transfer portal.
Who's coming?
Yeah, wide open. So Carolina's got some visitors in today. Former 5-star D tackle Gabriel Brownlow Dindy from Lakeland, Florida, originally was part of that super class that Jimbo Fisher signed that everybody was worried about. Now it's, seriously, sometimes this is an example of don't get too high or too low over a recruiting class. Because 2 years ago when they signed that class, everybody's like, oh, especially South Carolina folks, because Carolina was not that high for 2022. And so then, fast forward 2 seasons later, and it's 44-20. So I mean, I don't think Oklahoma. Think about Vanderbilt and Alabama. So it matters, but we got to keep that in mind. There's only 8 of those guys left at A&M out of the 30 they signed.
Isn't that amazing?
This is a defensive tackle. Now, this guy hasn't played a whole lot. Checking with a contact today from kind of sort of out there, it's kind of like Monkel Goodwine off of this year's team that was at Alabama for a while, didn't play a lot and was just behind other people. It was kind of like that. And then the new staff and this kid, I don't know, the new staff under Elko, they brought some guys in over him. He was a 5-star kid, was a state champion runner-up in the shot put, state champion in the discus at Lakeland High School, which is a powerhouse in Florida, there in Central Florida. That's a garden spot, by the way, Lakeland, halfway between Disney and Tampa.
And halfway to nowhere.
I spent a week there. I think it was the home of the Detroit Tigers for spring training.
It is.
Yeah, when I was
first
there.
Brave spring training game was there.
Yeah.
Jason Hayward crushed one off of Max Scherzer.
Wow, that's awesome, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, that's not a bad drive out from Orlando. Anyway,
No, it's easy. That's where Steve Pierce is from, Lakeland, Florida.
yeah, Lakeland puts
Former
out ballers.
Gamecock
The
stuff.
Pouncey twins. Chris Rainey was from Lakeland. That kid that signed with Colorado last year and transferred to Florida quickly was from Lakeland. Lakeland has the Dreadnoughts is their name. And then the other schools in Lakeland put out players too. It's a football hotbed. So anyway, this kid was 5 stars. He's going to go to Oklahoma, and then A&M got him at the end. And so he's out in the portal. He's a D tackle. I think, sometimes a guy like this, and a lot of it depends on NIL demands. I would never, if I were involved directly with that, I'd never overpay for a guy like this that has done jack squat, nothing, on the football field. But I would want him because of his upside. And I think just like with Goodwine, Travian Robertson has proven he can coach these guys up. TJ Sanders has become a potential first round draft pick. Tonka Hemingway had his best year this year. Boogie Huntley played his best ball this year. DeAndre Jules, if he hadn't gotten hurt, would have had a monster year for the Gamecocks. And so Travian, just like his mentor, the late, great Brad Lawing, maximizes these guys. And so I feel like to a certain extent, this guy's would be a take. Now, I don't know, break the bank for him, whatever you want to talk about on that end. That always matters. I don't know what that situation. I checked on that yesterday. People are kind of up in the air as far as what he wants, but I think it would be a good take. The other guy visiting today is a blast from the past, Omega Blake, who left after last year, went to East Carolina. I'll never forget my friend Skip was in the Charlotte airport in January, and he's like, Omega Blake's got his Gamecock bag on him. He's in front of me going through security. I guess he was flying from Charlotte out to Greenville, North Carolina. Left East Carolina and came to Charlotte and then developed into one of Charlotte's best deep threat players. Chris Hummer from 24/7 Sports said he's the best deep threat in the portal. I don't know. I haven't watched everybody in the portal enough to agree with that. But if he wants to come back and the staff agrees and he agrees it's a good fit, I think they'll take him back. I never thought he was a bad player. I just thought he kind of needed some time, to kind of get ahead. Excuse me. I just swallowed wrong. And then we talk often about how the same people that put together college football playoff put together the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And so Dominic Guidis, no relation to the Guidises from that show. Center. Now I love this. This kind of gets my radar going. 6'4", 310-pound center coming from the University of Michigan. He's a New Jersey kid. Started some games, kind of platooned, but at Michigan, where they have, their offense sucked, but they still had a really good offensive line this year. Tough, hard-nosed kids, played in the Big Ten. The Gamecocks would like to sign a center. You look at that position, and Ryan Brubaker was the backup this year. They need somebody to compete with him. This kid could definitely do it. They had their eye on Jordan White, He ends up going to Vanderbilt. But my understanding is Vanderbilt, NIL-wise, had a number of the Gamecocks just, nah, that's fine. You just go on. And that's what happens these days in this portal era. So those are the three visitors for today. Now, another five-star player, former five-star, Justice Haynes, who is the son, Mike, you'll remember, one of the most famous plays in Georgia history. He stepped on their face with a hobnail boot. That's Veron Haynes. It's his son.
Oh, wow.
In the category of we're getting very old.
Time flies.
Wow.
I remember that was like it was yesterday. And of course, he went on to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's from Atlanta, played at Blessed Trinity for a while. And then Buford, his senior year, was considered a top 2-3 back in the country and a five-star prospect out of high school. Justice didn't get a lot of run at Alabama, played some as a true freshman last year. This year, I always kind of wondered. I mean, he never really got a chance to get going. It seemed like Jam Miller kind of started getting most of the snaps, Mike, out there. And Justice is a good back. I mean, I don't know that he had the season he wanted to have. And I read he was banged up a couple of times. But, certainly they're going to have to replace Rocket Sanders. And that individual is going to either come from the portal or be on the roster right now because they didn't sign a high school guy. And so I think, he's got Carolina, Ole Miss. You hear North Carolina in there, which you got to watch out for those guys now. So we'll see what happens. But
refresh my memory. When did Rocket Sanders get plucked by Carolina?
He went in the portal. Gosh, I guess it was around maybe this time or later. He was one of the early ones because I remember I think it was a Tuesday night and I was at bingo. Right before Christmas. We probably were on hiatus. Maybe it may have been Friday night. I know I was at the bar.
So like late December?
It was
pre-Christmas. 13th. Oh, 13th. Okay. So 13th? It was probably a Tuesday night.
Because it's an important distinction. The portal, you can't enter past the 27th, but that doesn't mean the portal doesn't keep going, right?
Right. Yeah. You can sign. As long as the guy's in the portal, the player's in the portal, you can sign him at any time.
Anytime.
You don't have to. The window is just for the players. Like
for entry.
You got to get in by this time, or you got to wait till the next opening.
Here's my other question: why would you, as a player, if you're a high-profile player, and even if you're really happy where you are, why not put your name in the portal? Because I mean. The season for those that are not playing for anything anymore. I realize we still have bowl games and a playoff. By the way, I'm ultra excited about playoff beginning this weekend. But in other words, you can still you can tell your coaches like, look, I plan on staying. I love it here. I love you guys, but I just want to see what else is out there. Now I have had coaches tell me the moment they say they're going in the portal. You just lost access to the weight room. Your locker is emptied. Like, we're done with you. But I don't know if you can take that much of a hardline stance as a coach anymore because a lot of kids are going to start doing it. It's no different than when guys throw their hat in the ring for the draft, even though they know they're not going to be drafted. But what's the downside of doing that? I guess that's my question. Like, for example, could we see some more Carolina players, just like you're seeing everywhere else, just for giggles? I'm going to throw my name in the portal. I love it here, and I don't plan on leaving, but I'm just going to see what else is out there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that gets into.
I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying this is going on.
I don't. That's like not. Most coaches say get lost if that happens. I mean, and rightfully so, because it becomes kind of a circus because you kind of put in limbo with it.
Mm-hmm.
The draft is a little different. Like basketball, they'll go through the process. It's like, oh, no, he's coming back. But we're still recruiting here. I mean, the draft is, am I good enough to play or not?
Right.
And are you good? Are you wanting to pay me to play or not? And in theory, this is the same way. But it's not like, okay, well, we draft 8th. I'd like to get this guy. There's no line.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Ugh," and it's still recruiting, and it gets dirty. I mean, it gets really everybody. They start speaking of again, Real Housewives of New Jersey. They start talking smack about each other like a bunch of cackling Real Housewives. Yeah. There we go. I got 2 right now.
Well, the other reason I mentioned it, JC, is there's over 1,600 players in the portal. So not all these guys are going to be. Is it more 6, than that?
6,000.
6,000?
That was on X, though, so I don't know. I don't know if it's quite that many.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about D1, guys that truly have a chance that are coveted by other schools. Right?
More guys in the portal than there's spots. And
that's my point.
I don't think there's that many. Yeah.
That's my point. Like, even if, let's just say the number conservatively is 1,500. Most of those kids are not going to find another landing spot. So then what happens? Do you go back? Are you invited back to? No.
No. 98% of the time, you're not. I mean,
98% of the time, the coach says, no, thank you.
I mean, Juice Wells didn't leave South Carolina last year because he wanted to go to Ole Miss. He thought he was going to Texas, and Texas was like, now we got this other guy.
Right.
Sorry. He thought he's going to go get some of that oil money. By the way, Landman on Paramount Plus, Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, is it good?
Dude.
Everybody loves that show now. That's hot.
Dude, seriously, he makes it, and he's funny. There's a lot. I can't even quote it because there's a lot of. He says the F word every other, but it's funny. Anyway, I know we got to get a break and get Whittle in here. We'll pick up this discussion, and I'll answer the chat box questions, and I will talk about like who the Gamecocks got over the weekend because that's important too. But I know we got to take a break, Phil.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
The lottery is not about getting rich. The lottery is about helping people, and it always has been. It was the lottery that helped raise the Great Wall of China, maintain the roads of ancient Rome, and in this country, helped fund a revolution against tyranny. And today, in South Carolina, the revolution continues. But we're not building walls or roads or bridges. We're investing in you. Want to learn more? Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nana's Porch chat box on Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
Here on a Monday, joined now by John Whittle, from John Whittle, who knows everything about everything related to Gamecocks and recruiting, even though he'll put that off on somebody else and say that's not really his cup of tea. But that's you got to be in the loop on everything right now, John. I know it's a busy season for you, but good morning.
No, I pretty much let JC and Hale and Tony still handle the recruiting stuff. Those are the voices on that one. I'll stick with some of the other things, but. You know, I did ponder coming out here dressed as what JC suggested earlier, a naked Eskimo, but decided against that. So it's
great.
It's a beautiful day here in Columbia. So we're doing okay down here.
Yeah, you look like you're about to hop on the golf course there, John. What are your plans today?
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I hadn't shaved yet, so I didn't figure I could put on a hoodie. There's only so many levels of homeless you can look. So, I'm sitting here. I figured I needed to dress a little bit nice since I've got the ugly scruff going.
The scrub, man, that's good. Is that your backyard?
Yeah,
behind you.
What part of town do you live in?
You're at a different angle.
Yeah, I am in a little bit different angle because the sun is at a certain spot.
Yeah, I didn't know. That actually looks. It's a lot. That's a little bit. That's It's not. It's a better angle for your backyard, really.
Oh, you like that? Okay, well maybe we'll stay like this for next time.
Sweet.
Where are you? What part of town?
I'm over near Irmo High School.
Okay, and that's your backyard. That's Irmo can be pretty congested. You got a nice piece of land there.
Oh, man, he lives in a sweet place.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
You got a dog? You got a dog to roam that backyard?
There's two roaming around back there right now. They're small little guys, but they.
I see one. Yeah.
I was proud of them. There was a deer back there a few weeks ago, and they busted out of the back door to come out and chase the deer. I got these two little dogs that sent the deer going.
Nice.
But the deer hopped the chain link fence like it was nothing back there.
Oh yeah.
So look like JC back in his prime.
Back in his track and field days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I ran track one day and threw up. And I was in good shape too. I was a basketball football player. After basketball season, you do a lot of running in basketball.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, so time to run another mile, and I'm like, so not me. All right, so John, we'll start with basketball. There's a big game tomorrow night in Columbia. Challenging one for the Gamecocks. You know, you've watched this team now win. I guess they've won 5 in a row. How did the Gamecocks match up with Clemson? What needs to be done to pull what I would consider to be an upset? Tomorrow night at the Colonial Life Arena.
Interesting matchup. I mean, I've watched Clemson a couple of times now, and their strengths are pretty evident. I mean, they've got a couple of big guys who can play on the perimeter and shoot. They've got a tough as nails point guard who's not scared to take on a shot. He's not scared to get in the paint. He's not scared to play defensively. I mean, those guys are the ones who stick out to me. Shefflin being the main guy. I mean, what he did was Kentucky, right? That they beat in the ACC SEC Challenge, and I mean Shefflin was phenomenal. He's really elevated his game from pretty good last year to really good this year. So, overtime versus Memphis the other day for the Tigers, really good game. But Memphis made a few more shots. But South Carolina, I think they match up at least okay. I do think that Clemson center, a transfer from Cincinnati, he's a little bit bigger and might be a little bit more assertive than Nick Pringle on as far as being a bigger body, and might be able to out physical him a little bit, but we'll see on that. So, I think South Carolina's playing better. I don't think they're playing great, but I think they're playing better, especially on the defensive end. They've knocked down a few more shots in most of these games here lately, and that's going to make them a little bit more dangerous than what they looked, say, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, the team is coming along, John. It's the physicality, though, coming in tomorrow that really kind of is eye opening, just because from what I've seen of Clemson this year, they really have been like just trying to out physical everybody on the court with them. So yeah, I'm glad you brought up the center there, because I think Pringle, and you're going to have to use CMB too to really kind of get down there if you're going to have any post production. Bang around with a guy that is used to doing it.
Yeah, and CMB versus Shefflin, I think, will be a pretty interesting matchup. Some of the skill that they want to do is pretty similar. I think Shefflin might get a little bit too far out under his skis a little bit and try to do a little bit too much from time to time, especially on the defensive end. Maybe gets out of position, but that man fights and he'll rebound as well as anybody in the country, and that'll be a pretty cool matchup to watch. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two teams, and look forward to what should be a really, really good game tomorrow night. And hopefully it's a decent atmosphere.
Yeah. Want to keep Chase Hunter under wraps. I mean, I think he's their best overall player and a guy that is a matchup problem for most teams. So who draws the assignment for Carolina? It's really got to be a guard that's going to defend him for 30 minutes or so. But if you can keep him under wraps and, maybe make it a lower scoring game. This Carolina offense is still kind of finding its way. It doesn't have a ton of firepower. The guards are coming along. Jamari Thomas is playing much better. That's the guy they thought they got in the portal the last few games. The guy early on, that was a problem. But the guy who's really starting to come into his own, and you never know how long that transition is going to take. It's a new offense, it's a new culture, it's a new everything, and clearly the learning curve took a little extra time, but he's playing much better basketball.
Yeah, and I think that he'll match up pretty well with Hunter. I think their games are somewhat similar. I think Hunter. I think both of them play really physical and really hard, really on both ends, but certainly on the defensive end, and that's going to be fun to watch for both of those guys. So, I think some of the strengths and weaknesses are in some of the similar places on both of those teams, and going to provide some really fun matchups to watch.
Yeah, I think so. I think defensively, South Carolina's got to just. They've been getting better. It looks more like Lamont Paris style basketball in some games. Some games it doesn't. East Carolina, I thought it was kind of similar to Mercer and some of those. They weren't ugly wins, John. It just, I don't know. First half against Upstate. But at Boston College and against Virginia Tech, well, Carolina guarded. And I think that's probably what it's just going to take a great effort on defense. And then, this team sometimes gets out rebounded. What are your thoughts on that, and how important is rebounding going to be tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's going to be really important because Clemson's pretty good on the glass. Shefflin's one of the best in college basketball. Without looking up the stats right now, I would have to venture that he's at least near the top of the ACC. And you're right, South Carolina, if they out rebound their opponent, it ain't by much. And some of these guys that they've been playing aren't that big. So this past Saturday, I think the rebound margin was +2 in favor of the Gamecocks, and that's really just not good enough against a team like that. So that's certainly something that Lamont Paris is going to have to emphasize to his team. I know he's done that in several games this year, and they've done a decent job on the glass. And it feels to me like this team isn't always great at self-starting. They need to be encouraged some. So hopefully this game is a little bit different for them, and it certainly should be. But I do think they're playing better. I think they're coming into their own a little bit. Knocking down shots is helpful for the psyche, and it's translating over to the defensive end some too, in terms of confidence on that side. But Jamari Thomas is certainly leading the way from the defensive standpoint. That guy sets the tone really, really well on that end of the court, and does a great job on the ball.
Shefflin's 12 rebounds a game, by the way. 12.
Jesus.
That's pretty.
That's
for
insane.
College, that's a pretty insane number.
They lost to Memphis the other day, though. I mean, they've lost.
Yeah, they did. I saw it.
They lost to Memphis.
Yep.
I don't know if that's good
At
or
home.
bad for Carolina. I think I've just been really impressed with Clemson basketball this year. And I know nobody wants to hear me say that, but they're good. They're a good basketball team.
It was weird. It was an 11 a.m. tip on Saturday, and there was nobody in the stands, at least from a student section standpoint. It was barren. And I mean, I get it to some degree because it's either exams or probably the break up there. I would have to imagine it's the break, and most of the students have gone home. But you got to let people down there. I mean, it was rows and rows of empty seats right there, right there on the court, and it was a bad look in general. But also creates a bad atmosphere, and it's already going to be a challenging atmosphere at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday too. So, I think that South Carolina will have a better crowd on Tuesday night in a pretty good crowd. I don't think it's going to be the raucous, rowdy environment that you might see if this game were played, the second week of January or something like that, or even the first week of December when students are still around. But it is what it is, and got to create the environment somehow. That's why they're selling $10 tickets right now.
It is what it is. Shoot, yeah, just gotta go play. Yeah, that's surprising because Clemson, growing up in the upstate, the folks that live in Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, they'll go to Little John. I mean, but maybe we're just in a different. Maybe I'm just off. So
I would hope Tuesday night's a good crowd, but that's a whole.
It will be. But there's trying to sell the upper bowl out for $10 each. So.
Yeah, I mean the upper bowl is always going to be a tougher sell. By the way, I'll just say this: the SEC is 143-20. They have dominated every other conference in college basketball. I'm calling my shot on December 16th. The SEC will set an all-time record and get 12 bids to the big dance. 12.
I like the sound of that.
And point of reference on Carolina for those that are a little down for whatever reasons. Last two, I came from Tupelo, actually, where Mississippi State played. Old Will Wade. And they almost got knocked off by Will, who had a tournament team a year ago at McNeese. But the Mississippi State's made the NCAA tournament the last 2 years, going 8-10 in the SEC, because when the league's net ranking is good, that helps everybody. The league's net ranking has never been this good. So if you can somehow scrounge up 8-9 wins in conference play, you got a really good shot of making the big dance.
I mean, the Big Ten's done that a couple of times. I've seen them have a bunch of bids when they're up there.
That's right.
And then all their teams get knocked out in the first and second round.
That's right. Yep.
So anyway, well, changing gears, John. So you reported today there's a board of trustees meeting tomorrow. Your expectations for that meeting? I know you probably. Nobody knows specifics on these things, but give us your speculation. What do you expect to happen? Obviously, it's football related or athletics related. Just kind of your take on what we can expect coming out of that meeting tomorrow.
Well, there's a whole lot on the Board of Trustees calendar that is not athletics related. So this is kind of their last meeting of the year, I guess, or last planned meeting. And there is one little line on out of probably there must have been 150 lines in there that with a football athletics contract. And I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what all to expect. Usually they have waited until after the season to do assistant coach contracts in bulk. They have addressed some assistant coaches who have maybe been offered jobs at other places before the bowl game but usually when they address things in bulk, it's usually in January or the very 1st of February. But you may be looking at a Mike Shula deal. You may be looking at a Shane Beamer made a comment last week that they're having to fight off some schools that are trying to hire their coaches. So, maybe you see another assistant here or there. Maybe you see Shane Beamer. They've addressed head coach contracts before bowl games before, and this may be something similar. I asked about a Shane Beamer contract last week and was told that one will happen, but I wasn't under the impression that it was going to be this quickly. So I need to make a few phone calls today, and maybe there'll be something a little bit more detailed on the Big Spur later. But the contract the language on the Board of Trustees announcement made it sound like it was contracts plural for football. So we'll see exactly what happens. I think Mike Shula is probably a pretty safe bet, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it hadn't been very standard to address assistant coaches across the board prior to the bowl game.
Yeah, you just never know nowadays. I have no idea. So transfer portal, we can talk about that a little bit, I guess. Your thoughts on how things are going and with it, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, I heard y'all first.
You hang on the bigspur.com too. What's the vibe, dude? What's the vibe?
Yeah, I heard. I was listening to the first segment and I got caught up listening, which is why I didn't shave before I got on here. I completely lost track of time. JC was like, "Oh, we got to go to a break," and I'm like, "Shoot, I gotta get moving. I can't go out there like the naked Eskimo that JC was talking about earlier." But no, it should be noted that players have 5 days after the conclusion of their season, if their bowl game is after the 28th, to go into the portal. So, South Carolina players will have an opportunity, I guess, until January 4th to be able to go into the portal. The problem with if you wait is that, schools fill up spots and there's already a bunch of good players out there. That doesn't mean that Texas A&M wouldn't take, one of the best safeties in the country if they could, even if they had filled up all their spots. They'll certainly find a way to make it work, I would think. But you limit some of your options if you wait until the end to go. I saw somebody, backup quarterback, I guess, from Penn State, went into the portal and was like, basically the timing of it, I have to go in now, even though we're in the playoffs, and I'm going to keep practicing with the team and am committed to the program and until we're out. And I don't know. It's certainly a weird dynamic on all of this, but I've seen folks talk about needing to change the calendar, and there's just really not another way to do it, I don't think.
What's crazy is if you're on a playoff team that goes the distance, most schools have already started spring semester. It's January 20th. So most places have started their spring term by then. It's hard to enroll. I mean, the schools that care about football will make exceptions.
Yeah, and you're talking about a finite number of players at that point.
You're right.
I mean, what are you talking? Maybe, at the most, 15 players over two teams that are going to a national championship game? Maybe. I don't know, but it's still, regardless, you're right. It is a challenge. Some schools start their terms, the first week of January. Yeah. And others are later. I had a buddy who went to Stanford and they didn't start until the end of January, so that one was unique. That was back 10 years ago. But so I don't know how they're doing it now. But it's timing can become a challenge, whether it's from a recruiting standpoint or academic calendar standpoint. I don't know of any other way to do it. It's just something that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just like a kind of a fact of life. I got what the Penn State quarterback was saying, but they played this weekend. Did it have to be this week before the game? A lot of distraction there. And honestly, nobody wants to talk about this, but a lot of this stuff is handled between agents and collectives for now. Until July 1st, at least, in my opinion, before guys even get in the portal. And so I didn't understand that, but I'm not disagreeing with him. I'm just saying that, Who knows? Who knows? All right, John. Any parting shots from you this week on Whittle on all things? You've got a fan club out here on YouTube, man, because your segments, we always chop them up and put them up, and they get mad views. So
it's just my mom rewatching it over and over
and over again. Oh,
thanks, Mom.
Good work, Mom.
Trust me, there's no fan club, and there shouldn't be. But no, I'm curious to see how these next few weeks go. I'm really curious to see how January goes with Jeremiah Donati coming in and getting his feet wet and kind of getting things going on January 2nd. There's so much that's going to happen over the next month and a half that just kind of sets the stage for next year, whether it's football bringing in players from the portal, whether it's a new athletics director coming in. Look, South Carolina's got a really, really challenging start to the basketball schedule in conference play. Certainly tomorrow night is a big deal, and the start of conference play is a lot of challenging games. So this next month and a half is going to be pretty cool to follow for South Carolina athletics.
I agree. I'm with you. I think it's we're going to know a lot of the unknowns by the end of middle of February or so. And I hope one of the knowns is the basketball team has a chance to get to the tournament. I think because football season went so daggum well, this is the first year in a long time where I haven't breathed a sigh of relief after the Clemson game, win or lose. Like, I'm tired of watching these guys play and sweating every week. I actually enjoyed watching this team play, but I enjoyed watching the basketball team last year. I can't say the same about this season, so hopefully that turns around. All right, John, we're getting a break. You rock and roll.
Appreciate you guys. Always great being on.
Take care, Whittle.
Same to you, John.
Thanks, John. Mm-hmm.
All right, Phil. Get us out, Percy.
Hey, Phil, before you do that, just mention one of our proud sponsors, Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage, for all your mortgage needs. Again, a lot of things changing in that climate, including better rates to deal with, better climate overall to get yourself into a new mortgage. You can certainly, at bare minimum, just kick the tires, see what he can do for you. If he can't help you, he'll be honest about that. Just kind of say, look, the numbers aren't in your favor right now. Sometimes the best thing to do is to just sit with a pad hand. But why not make that phone call and find out for sure at 803-238-0111, 803-238-0111. Troy's been doing it since 1999 for South Carolinians. Let him go to work for you. Again, 803-238-0111. That's Troy Branham, the man, the myth, the legend of Golden Gate Mortgage.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case. Nice. So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
Take a look in the 5 and 10,
Glistening once again.
with candy canes and silver lanes aglow.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store.
But the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Find a little quick segment here before we end the hour. I got a question for you, though, JC. What is
Where's Mike?
Oh, he was still getting himself ready, so I brought him in here just to take him off so he could get his seat there. There we are. There we go.
Okay.
There we
I was
go.
like, we just bolted, man.
No, I wouldn't do that.
All right, what's your question, Phil? I'm sorry for interrupting.
I know, and a lot of it's come up. I've seen it on the message boards. I've seen it in our chat box. But what do you know about this? What is his name? Chimerius Bomber from West Side.
Bomar.
Receiver Bomar. Yeah.
I know he was at Burns for a while and played as a freshman there because our buddy that's a Burns booster that hadn't paid his dues told me about him a long time ago. Of course, Brian Lane, the coach at West Side, was a Burns quarterback. I know him. I went to school with him. Love that guy. And his son, Jalen Lane, played at Virginia Tech this year. Did a really nice job for the Hokies. But anyway, no,
because it doesn't look like either of the two main institutions in South Carolina have offered this kid.
Well, Clemson never offers anybody in state.
Well,
It's a rare occurrence. So, but I don't know. I think maybe the feeling nowadays, Phil, is if he goes to App State and does well and gets in the portal, you can always try to get him back. I mean, they, I in general, there's some guys in particular in the upstate, especially if a couple of years ago got kind of passed, they didn't look at for whatever reason. That's changed now, but I don't know. This happens. So we'll see. It may be his size too. I'll say this about Bomar. I've not seen him in person. So sometimes you'll see a guy like that and he's a baller. And then like you see him without his helmet and shoulder pads on and he's extremely thin.
Yeah, I think his production numbers are what really, at least from the state championship game, or what kind of caught somebody's eye, and you're like,
West Side.
Okay.
I don't know I don't know what he did at NC State this year, but they sent this receiver Jamar Boston to NC State last year. I thought he was worthy of a take, but look, man, they don't pay me to do it, so that's and when you, sure.
Go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
I was going to add what I always say in recruiting. People ask all the time if you're recruiting, if somebody finishes with the 40th recruiting club, that's bad recruiting. Then I remind them, Missouri went 11-2, and they finished exactly 35th for 3 straight years. 35th. I mean, how do you do that? But I was like, it's like that's not bad recruiting as long as your players pan out. But what bad recruiting is when you have players in your state that are knocking down your door that want to come. You turn them away, and then they go on to be stars. That's bad recruiting. And that happens less and less at South Carolina, which is good. I mean, there's always going to be a couple. Not everybody's perfect, but I'll just say that. So we'll see about Bomar.
I thought this was interesting to just kind of follow up on our portal conversation. This is from Max Olson of ESPN.com. He says there have been more than 1,500 FBS scholarship players to enter the portal and almost 2,000 total FBS players. So a lot of walk-ons in that group. For context, the total number of FBS players who transferred in 18-19, the first year of the portal era, was 1,561. Those were simpler times. And then he lists the top portal programs now, both for subtraction and addition. And I talked about this on the Love Chevy Drive Around the SEC last week, but Arkansas and Mississippi State have had the most portal entries. They haven't technically defected yet because they might not get picked up by anybody. But Arkansas and Mississippi State have had 24 players enter the portal each. That is by far and away the highest total in the SEC. Well, I shouldn't say by too far and away because Kentucky has 21 and A&M has 19, to go back to your point, JC, about that class that was supposed to be the dream team, and there's barely anybody left. The most of a Group 5 school, poor New Mexico, they've had 35 kids enter the portal.
That's because the guy I used to respect, and I still respect him, but going 1 year and giving those poor dozens of New Mexico Lobo football fans, giving them hope, and then leaving Bronco Mendenhall. I mean, he left, took Utah State because he wanted to go back to Utah. Well, why didn't you just sit out and wait? I mean, Utah State's been a disaster from an administration standpoint for a long time. That job came open, I think, an interim coach this year. Why did you go and toy with their emotions in Albuquerque? Have you not watched Breaking Bad? There are some people in Albuquerque that will kill you. Anyway,
Skinny Pete and
I have started watching Breaking Bad though, Mike.
That's right.
So
that's right. You never saw the show.
Yeah, I'm on it now.
Dude, you're gonna fall in love with that show.
Man, yes, for sure.
I know you.
I'm into it now.
I told you would be absolutely hooked.
Yes.
I've gone through it 3 times. So
yeah,
clearly I need help.
It's quite good. But so what was I gonna say? Yeah, so Mendenhall left. Now Arkansas, like this is where the 5-alarm fire in Fayetteville should be going right now. See, so Calipari takes a basketball job and they fund NIL there at his level, no problem, and you get all these players. This is like the 3rd straight cycle in the portal where Pittman's lost like 20 plus guys.
Yeah.
So what's going on? I mean, and some of these guys are latching on at really good places and they go play. So what's going on? I mean, is there an issue with football NIL there? Because Hunter Yurachek mentioned it publicly. Hey, we got to get our act together. I know Jerry Jones's son said Jerry can't, who's an Arkansas grad, can't give to NIL because of some kind of NFL rules or something like that, where owners can't do that. But Jimmy Haslam certainly doesn't have a problem funding anything at Tennessee, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that is.
I talked to JC. They're quick to remind me. People assume Walmart gives a bunch of money to Arkansas football, and that's not.
They don't.
They spread their wealth around to multiple schools, and they are not like the guy that got the Cal deal done was Tyson's Chicken, and they have a relationship. So his money he's all about college basketball. He's not giving big fat checks to football. I'm not saying Arkansas should cry poor anytime soon, but yeah, clearly you're right. There's an issue there.
It's a shame too, because when the portal started, Arkansas got after it and really for 2022 had a nice portal class that came in, and they just I mean, you can't lose that many guys every year and expect a guy to win. I don't. So
no,
Rhett Lashley, get ready. See, this matters, Mike, because if you do want to go, Mike's gone. I'll speak this. All right, I'll make this. Well, you went away.
I did.
The black hole came up.
Oh, my bad.
But that may have been me. So if you're Rhett Lashley, though, like because that's rumored to be the guy if Pittman hangs it up. You're from Arkansas, you love Arkansas, but you'll have more resources at SMU, and that was a key part of their success. Think about that.
Yeah.
So this kind of thing is damaging not only to your current coach, but to your and look, schools will go up and down with losing guys in the portal, but this is the 3rd straight year Arkansas's had a mass exodus. So and I don't say that to be mean or ugly or criticize them. I'm concerned because I love Razorback fans and I love the Hogs. All right, we'll go to break. Woo pig, suey,
Woo pig, suey.
In football.
By the way, I thought there was a really good intra-conference portal quarterback move that we'll talk about in the second hour.
I think I know where you're going with
this. I think you know where I'm going, but that's an industry tease.
That's right. But we'll see as soon as we come back from the break.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Merry Christmas!
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee.
The national anthem at noon every day here on Inside the Gamecocks The Show. We are live now talking ball with Pat DiMarco. How are you, Pat? You ready for Christmas, man?
Yeah, we're getting there. I have several things that are hidden in our house right now that I'll have to put together here.
Yeah, I have
days.
one some assembly required thing too. Yeah, it's like, well, we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like every year we get another one of those little ride-on electric battery-powered things, and I'm just like, why do we keep buying these? They break after like 17 uses, and that gets us until March or April. As soon as it gets nice enough to want to be outside.
Yeah, right.
Outstanding. Pat, yeah, I think we've talked about this before, I think, on the show, but these playoff games coming up this weekend, you know, they're in Columbus, Ohio, South Bend, Indiana, and State College, Pennsylvania. 3 of them are. And then there's one in Austin. You played for the Bills. This is the first time we've had cold weather playoff football at the college level, like ever.
Yeah.
Out maybe some Cotton Bowls back in the day got a little chilly, but that bowl normally wasn't for the national title. I mean, all the Big Ten teams play in Pasadena. You know, your thoughts about the elements, and can they impact this game? Just because, you know, college kids really aren't used to it.
So Buffalo is building a brand new stadium. And in order to host a Super Bowl, potentially probably, like, if you're in the Northeast, they've had a couple up in New York, New Jersey, but you generally need a dome to do that. And at that time of year, there's a reason why they are not putting a dome on their new stadium. And that's because Miami comes up there once a year. Several teams from other, I would say, better climate areas travel up there. And when Miami gets off the bus to play Buffalo on a Sunday in November or December, they already lost. So it is a definite big home field advantage to those who are used to it. Sean McDermott, who's our head coach up there, I begged and prodded and might have offered him some money to have us practice inside my first year up there. And he said, suck it up, Pat. You're going to have to play them on Sunday. So we're going to practice in it, and we're going to get accustomed to it. So, yes, for those teams that are going to have to, like, SMU heading to Penn State, that's not going to be fun. You know, Tennessee, Ohio State, that's not going to be probably too bad. But, I mean, moving forward, there's going to be definitely a piece to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, 3 of the 4. I thought that was a big factor with these first-round home games heading into this year, just because it's never we've never had to experience it. Like, when I think about NFL playoffs, man, there's nothing like a January Sunday and a good cold weather game. I mean, that's like I grew up. I mean, when I think of NFL playoffs, I think of that. When I think of college playoffs, I think domes or warm weather.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just kind of weird. So
watching one of those snow games on TV is awesome.
Dude, it's football. I mean, you know, I've got to, if Chicago were worth a crap, the Bears, I would try to go to one of their December games because it's outdoors. My wife said that they tailgate and their beer freezes. So
I mean, one of my first experiences to Buffalo weather was OTAs up there my first year, and we went and had like a scrimmage in the stadium, and I mean, it wasn't crazy cold, but like in Buffalo, the wind blows 15 to 20 miles an hour every day. I mean, there's gusts 30, 40. It's not abnormal, but Tyrod Taylor threw me a flat route. I mean, and I'm in Atlanta, and out Matt Ryan throws me a flat route. It's on my front hip, catching it, ready to go. Like, the ball's not moving. Tyrod Taylor threw me a flat route, and then I completely had to flip my hips open and catch it like outside the frame of my body when it started out like perfect, leading me right to where I wanted to go. And I had to flip everything, you know, open up my back hip, expose myself. The linebacker ended up hitting me right in the chest right when that happened. Oh, thanks, Tyrod. But the wind and the gusts and all that stuff, like the elements of playing a football game outside in different weather. When I was playing in Atlanta, when Green Bay was on the schedule, I'm sitting there. I'm like, please play in November, October. Please play in September, October. Like, don't make it November, December.
That place is insane. So, yeah, it's crazy. Well, Pat, transfer portal season is upon us. Looking at this South Carolina offense, look at the receiving core. And they got some good freshmen coming in, taking kind of those guys out of it. Like, if you were the GM, not that Carolina has a GM like some schools do, but
it should be a standard thing nowadays, right?
Yeah. Well, people, it's basically it's a personnel director. They get the title. I've seen, but you know, Darren Usher would kind of be that guy for Carolina. But if you put your roster building hat on, what is this receiving core to you missing from a like prototype standpoint? Would it be an outside guy? Like what would you want to target in the transfer portal at that position?
Well, when you look at our, Lenore's ended up having a really good year. I mean, large part into his legs and making stuff happen with his legs. But I mean, Josh Simon led the team in catches and yards. Josh made some big plays. I mean, some of those were big explosive, make somebody miss, go 60, 70. We just didn't have like a steady possession receiver type guy. And Nick Harbor, you'd love him to be the take the top off, big explosive play guy, but he hasn't shown to be reliable enough to do that. I mean, I think you need an inside slot receiver that is big enough, is confident enough, is quick enough to get open against the nickel, linebacker, safety, one-on-one, can go out there and win. But you also need like a jump ball guy. Like you need somebody that like an Alshon Jeffrey. Granted, it'd be great to have a first or second rounder at that position. But you need somebody that is sure reliable hands that can go make the play. But then you're also sitting there and it's like, why do I need to go find that in high school? Let me go find that in the portal. There's plenty of guys that are going to want to come play with Lenore Sellers. I mean, he's on the 20. I saw something on social media where he's on the 2025 Heisman watch list, which is crazy because like he was when they ranked SEC quarterbacks like week 6, he was like number 14.
Yeah, that was crazy. Well, I don't know if you remember. You probably remember Omega Blake. He was there when you were there. So he's had a journey. He went to ECU and then left there and went to Charlotte. Apparently at Charlotte last year, he's developed into a 6'3", 210-pound deep threat.
He's 210? No way.
Yeah. That's what Charlotte. That's what they.
He ain't 210.
Yeah.
Never hold.
Hey man,
I don't know if he could ever hold 210. Now I will say Omega Blake. The reason why he didn't stay here the whole time is he needed to grow up. And obviously being in Rock Hill, coming right here to Columbia, South Carolina, and being the man, the stud, he needed to get away to grow up and learn that, hey, like life isn't just given to you. But I was always very impressed with his ball skills. He was a guy that balls in the air, he was going to be the one that was going to get it. And I mean, he did a lot of scout teamwork for us when I was there, and he was making plays against the starters. Now, when you asked him to go play special teams, he was going to kick and throw his hands and was all pissy about having to do stuff that he didn't want to do. But, I mean, if he grew up and kind of developed and put on some weight, because, I mean, he was 175, maybe 180 pounds when he was here. But you could see from a ball skill standpoint and the skill set standpoint, I mean, he can get off press pretty easily. He could make plays with the ball in space. Now, if you asked him, like, because he wasn't one of our studs, like, he was blocking on the perimeter. He did not want to block on the perimeter.
Yeah, that's important.
The ball in his hands. So, I mean, if he's grown up, man, he had – you could tell that he had the ball catching ability standpoint and the playmaking ability standpoint. But also, like, with he also was a headache at times here. So, like, if you can make the plays, I can deal with the headache. If you can't make the plays, then I'm not going to deal with the headache.
Well, he's on campus today and available, and I'm sure they're going to.
That's a very interesting dynamic.
It is. Of course, there's a new receivers coach at Carolina now. I would think this would be kind of a sit down conversation with Beamer and everybody involved with him. He's certainly good. And it had a really good latter part of the year, but I mean, there's a reason he went to East Carolina and then left and went
the biggest.
Yeah. You got to feel comfortable with it.
Yeah. I mean, the culture, like this was the best year that the culture's been. And like you said, you do have a lot of young, talented guys coming in that are getting here. Like, do you want them to go get groomed? I mean, if Omega's grown up and done the right things and he's trending in the way that hopefully he is, then I would want young guys to come in and get groomed under, if he's starting at X or starting at Z for you, then a guy like that. But if he's going to be toxic in there and he's going to be a me guy,
No.
I mean, I'm a fullback, right? There's somebody sent me a picture of like fullbacks might limit your play calling standpoint, but they're damn good for the culture.
Yeah.
So
Cornbread Cowboy loves fullbacks, man. He's on a mission to bring it back. Our friend.
Yeah, it's just
Cornbread.
like, did Cornbread play football?
He did for Williston Elko back in the day. He was, I think he was a linebacker.
We need to get some tape. See if Cornbread was about that action or if he was not watching that action.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I love that guy. But all right, yeah. So that's kind of how I feel about the Blake thing. It surprised me that Carolina would be. I mean, because it didn't surprise me he would leave Charlotte, but it surprised me that because they had a coaching change. But I don't know. I don't know what.
I mean, like I hope the best for Omega. Omega was always nice to me. He always, like when I was in the building, he was super respectful and never did anything to me to not make me like him. So I mean, I enjoyed Omega. And I hope the best for him. I just, man, like, this is going to be his fourth school in 5 years. I mean, I guess
if you count Carolina twice, yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, what are we doing? It's like Robbie Ashford. What are we doing? 4 teams
I don't.
in 5 years, like, it's broken. I mean,
part of me is like
broken.
Part of me understands Robbie's desire to go start somewhere because he could at certain spots, probably on the group of 5 level. And then part of me is like, man, that's your fourth school. That's like that basketball player, Eric Stevenson, that Carolina had that ended up at West Virginia. He played in like all 4 corners of the country.
Yeah, but like, what are the real motives? Like, yes, I bet he wants to play, and he had a chance to compete with Lenore's here, and that might have been the whole reason why he came here. But like, he's probably going to go make a pretty decent check wherever he goes. And I would imagine we were going to give him decent money to stay here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like, what's the real motive? Like, is he an NFL guy? No. I don't know. I hate that you don't develop relationships. Like my best friends, like of the 8 guys in my 8 of my groomsmen, 6 of them I went to college with and played college ball with. Like, you don't get that playing 4 places in 5 years.
Oh yeah, my dad told me that when I was a kid. When I played ball, he said the guys you play ball with, he got kind of religious on it. You know, he's like, son, guys you play football with, you'll be friends forever. And he's right, man. Even the guys like I see,
that's what it's about.
Yeah, every now and then, yeah, shared struggle. It is right. Mike, I know you've been trying to ask a question. My bad, I've been rambling on.
Well, I was just you touched on it. The wide receiver position, I think that's massive. This cycle, and to your point, Pat, I mean, I really think the landscape on what you're looking for in the off season. Yeah, in the perfect world, you just rack up 5 stars and sprinkle in portal guys, and then that's you got the best of all worlds. But the reality for most programs is, if you want a more instant return on investment and for that matter, better chances of knowing what you're getting, it's through the portal. So like I'm reading up on Dane Key. Apparently he's had an Ole Miss visit, and Georgia's still high on him. Nebraska's actually in the hunt for that guy. Barry Brown goes to LSU. So I'm just wondering what the portal is looking like. And obviously, JC, I know you're all over this too for Carolina, because I'm with you. I think Lenoris needs a little more help at that position, and this is
he needs consistency. I mean, any quarterback needs consistency.
And there is
force the ball to this guy. I know we got a chance.
There's no 50-50 guy that I saw last year, nor is there a guy, to use your term, that constantly wins battles for getting separation and getting open. You got a bunch of like really solid guys, but you don't have a whole lot of alphas. So I'm just wondering how they attack that.
Yeah. It was weird because I thought Delvon Campbell could have been that guy. And he showed signs. I mean, everybody was just sort of up and down. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, when you run F choice, hopefully your quarterback has the balls to sit there and stand on my F. Like, he's gonna win. I know he's gonna win. It might not be his first move, but it's gonna be a second move. I'm gonna sit on him, and if not, I'm gonna get my bell rung because I'm trusting that my guy who we designed this play for and giving every opportunity to win. And he's smart enough and he has the talent. And I mean, like when I was in Atlanta, one of Kyle's favorite concepts was Buffalo H choice. And H choice was basically you give Tevin Coleman or Devontae Freeman a chance to go one-on-one with a linebacker. They should win 97% of the time. There was a reason we weren't calling fullback choice because that wasn't the likelihood of me winning there. But, I mean, they could sit there and they won 95% of the time. And it was a 15, 20, 30-yard explosive play. Like, so for us to have the confidence to call that and Lenore to sit there on his primary target and know that he's going to win and he's going to get open is key. I mean, a quarterback needs that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Pat, I guess that's about it for the segment. I guess we're a little more brief than Bradford. Yeah.
We did a piece with Garcia earlier today with Tailgate Talks about some of these playoff games, which I'm sure you're going to dig into later.
Is this going to be the cut? Is it going to be the cut on that you got the cut video you guys have been putting out? By the way, everybody,
we talking about the whole kind of, I mean, it's weird to have Friday, December 20th, there being a bowl game that actually means something.
Yeah, that's strange, man.
December 21st to have a bowl game that actually means something. Usually nobody's watching any of that.
Yeah.
So
we got ball to watch, and that's going to be awesome. Yeah, because Army Navy kind of filled the void this year, and it's usually like a sad ending. You know, you're like Army Navy, then the next week it's the New Mexico Bowl, right? But this year it's big time football like that. So that's coming up on Tailgate Talks. You guys releasing one tomorrow, I'm assuming.
It'll be out Wednesday. Yep, every Wednesday.
I'm sorry, my days have been mixed up all week. I keep thinking it's my wife's in Thailand and she's a day ahead of me. So now, okay, so and everybody follow Tailgate Talks 547 on Instagram to get the bonus segment sponsored by Cut with Pat and Steven. I really got a lot out of those myself. So everybody just follow them on Instagram and check those out. And be sure to check out Tailgate Talks. Gamecocks Plus or the Chief Sports app with the audio. All right, man. I guess we won't talk to you for a while, dude. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. When I got the link, I was like, I didn't know where we were going with this, but we went somewhere and we did it. And
yeah, me too.
Garcia's locks for the week he picked Notre Dame, he picked SMU, Clemson, and Tennessee. So it was an underdog week.
Wow.
All right.
Clemson, SMU, Tennessee.
And so there's a big spread. So like there's a reason, like there should be no reason to talk about the playoffs, and there's an 11-point spread.
If Indiana pulls that off, Signetti, like I know they've already handed out all the awards, but they ought to give him another one.
Yeah, man. I like Clemson and the points, honestly. I think Clemson, that could be a close game. In a playoff game, you're playing for your life, man. I mean, there's no letdown. I mean, I don't know.
It's so awesome that they're on campus, too.
Yeah, there's some big spreads out there.
That.
Carolina starts bowl practice tomorrow. You guys talk more portal stuff and all the recruiting stuff. That's not real my world.
I know, dude. Yeah, that's I tried to kind of give you some big picture stuff, man. All right, Pat, we appreciate it, and certainly wish you and your family a Merry Christmas, man. Thanks for a great season, man. It was awesome.
Thank you,
Pat. I'll see you.
Since Pat mentioned it, cut.com, KUTT.com. Again, for our listeners, promo code Gamecocks gets you a 10% sign-up bonus, a social betting app for you. You can do it with strangers, friends, family, maybe a fellow listener. You never know. No having to worry about payouts, no having to pay three-finger Tony a 10% vig either. It's just a 3% surcharge for that, but it makes everything so much easier and so much more fun for that matter. It's KUTT.com, promo code Gamecocks, or a 10% sign-up bonus. You can also sign up on the app if you are a Apple phone guy. There's an app with KUTT, the beautiful green logo.
All right, cool. Listen, Phil, before we go to break, I did want to mention this. We had some news come across. It's not portal news. It's just kind of your standard news. Nick, the Associated Press, a bunch of, I don't know, people, I guess, that are still in the media. They have named Nick Emanware first-team All-American.
Nice.
At safety. And Kyle Kennard, the Nagurski winner, is a second-team All-American. They went with Abdul Carter and the kid from Boston College with the funny name as their first-teamers. It's okay. But, hey, first-team All-American by the AP, that's rarely happened around here at South Carolina.
It's awesome.
Regardless of their voting pool being diluted with an assortment of clowns and charlatans. Not all of them, though. So don't say I said all AP voters are that way. Just most of them or some of them. Anyway, good time for a break, guys. We'll be right back.
That's right.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up the screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer, turns the corner, touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right, you know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service, second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured, your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer, Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell him Mike sent you.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from Resto Pros.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. We're live here. It's Power Hour, wall to wall here with Mike today. And of course, we are brought to you by the Barn Door Co. If you're thinking about buying a new home, consider yourself a little bit of land and putting up one of these barn dominiums. I caught myself looking at a few of the layouts over the weekend, and yeah, something to dream about. They look really nice. I love the way they kind of put it together. You can actually check out some videos of walkthroughs and things like that on YouTube, as a lot of people are putting up barn doors. But what the Barn Dominium Co. What is it? barndoco.com? I don't want to mess that up.
That's right.
Yeah. barndoco.com. So check it out. Build you a new home.
Who wouldn't
not
want
over
that for
here.
holidays?
Yeah. Listen,
complete with heat. Mad Dog. Every new good home has has access to central heating and air. Our thanks again to Pat. I mentioned before the Pat segment, kind of a tease on a quarterback. Somebody mentioned Van Buren to LSU. Van Buren, yeah, I mean, that's a nice pickup, but it's going to be the Nussmeier show next year for sure. He, along with Lenoris, Lagway, Nico, I'm assuming Milroe is going to be back.
No, he's leaning toward the draft.
Is he really? Wow.
Well, I read the article right before we came on. So
okay, I mean, to me, that would be a mistake. But
there's talk around. I get asked by Barry and Wimp every week if about hypotheticals about Milroe going in the portal.
Well, it's clear that there's an Alabama faction. They're so spoiled, right?
Trust fund fan base.
Right. There's an Alabama faction of that fan base that has blamed everything that went wrong for Alabama this year. And it wasn't that bad. They barely missed a playoff, but everything on Jalen Milroe. And he did not have the year that people expected. He was so good in that Georgia game. And then all of a sudden, then there was criticism. He wanted to prove he's not just a runner. So he started to throw from the pocket, and that didn't work well. So he was just the most erratic. Like every now and then he'd remind you, hey, I'm pretty damn good. And then he'd have another bad game. So I don't know. Maybe he does go pro. I mean, to me, like you're going when your stock is lower than it's been. I don't know why you wouldn't come back for another year, but again, that's up to him. So yeah. Okay. Tyler just stole my thunder. Yeah. Tyler, that's the guy I was talking about. Jackson Arnold going to Auburn. Yeah. Auburn's lost 7 games, 4 years in a row. That goes back to the last year of Gus, the 2 years of Brian Harsin, which like 10 years from now, will anybody even remember Brian Harsin was the coach of Auburn for 24 months? It's like it just vanished. And then now 2 years under Hugh Freeze, which have been remarkably mediocre. And they just haven't had good quarterback play. I think Jackson Arnold, nobody in that Oklahoma offense this year was going to shine. You had no O-line whatsoever. At times, their entire receiving core was completely on the shelf with injuries. I think Jackson Arnold can play, and I think he's going to do some good things for Auburn. I think that's a really good pickup. They'll have the Cam Coleman kid back, who's a stud wide receiver. I mean, he's a dude. That's the kind of guy I'd like to see in a Carolina uniform that Lenoris could go to. But I just think that's one of the – nobody's really like making a huge deal of it outside of course, Alabama. But I think Jackson Arnold to Auburn is one of the best pickups so far that I've seen.
Yeah, I like it. Arnold showed – he's not a burner. Hugh Freeze does like to run his quarterbacks. And that's why that Peyton Thorne thing I just never understood. I didn't think he was that good of a runner. But he ran his QBs at Ole Miss quite a bit. And Jackson, 25 carries, 134 yards against Alabama in the big upset. That was kind of a surprise that they sprung on him. But he's got wheels. I like the way he competes, just watching him in the Carolina game. He makes mistakes, but he's out there. I think a big question now, is where does Oklahoma go? That's a double whammy for Mississippi State, by the way, because the strong speculation was Arnold would follow Lebby to Starkville. And then Van Buren, who I would like to say this is not disrespectful to St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. But when I looked up and saw he's from St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, I was like, that kid's getting in the portal as quickly as possible because Starkville's probably just, and those kids move around and they always, historically, they send kids to LSU for some reason. Always have. But yeah, and that's the second straight year LSU has signed a quarterback to back up Nussmeier that's a starter at another SEC school because last year they got A.J. Swan from Vandy to transfer in. So I don't know what Brian Kelly's telling these folks. Probably like, we don't have a defense still, and we're going to have to score some points. And we're losing all our O-linemen, so Nuss may get, take a hit. But I like Van Buren competed his butt off this year. I liked him the way he played.
He's a little quarterback.
Yeah, it'll be interesting at Alabama too because you kind of look at it, and Ty Simpson will be the guy there. A lot of other guys have transferred out. I think do they have a freshman? No, they brought in the kid that was committed to Washington from California as well. But Dylan Lonergan, one of their backups, Carolina fans know him. Be thankful Dylan Lonergan signed with Alabama, by the way, because he was going to come to Carolina and then decided last minute to go to Bama. And that was Lenore Sellers' class. So I'm not sure South Carolina ever circles back. We may be talking about Syracuse and Lenore Sellers right now, winning a lot of games. But yeah, so there's that. But he's in the portal. So Bama's getting a little thin at QB. Is Ryan Williams really in the portal? If we could, that was reported. Is that confirmed or was that a hoax?
That's a good. I saw the report as well.
Yeah, everybody, reputable people have reported it.
Yeah,
and you want to talk about a guy that got by with like one game? I mean,
well,
what did he really do the rest of the year?
I do think he's pretty special. I
think he's good. Did you?
Well, he's played 17 years old. That's
he's 17 years old.
But it wasn't just that. Like he had moments in other games that were pretty damn good. Part of the problem, for him is that again you go back to the quarterback play of Milroe, who was so erratic. You know, as Charles mentioned in the Oklahoma game, he was just flat out terrible, and that's what turned. That was the final straw for a lot of Alabama fans that are like, "Go ahead and leave. We don't care." We're used to having guys like Tua and like Hurts and even Mac Jones. Like all these guys were just
Bryce Young was solid. You know,
I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, these were all machines for Alabama, and then all of a sudden, Milroe looks like the second coming of Lamar Jackson one game, and then the second coming of somebody really bad the next game. So. But no, I mean, I think like Ryan Williams is a dude now. I don't think Alabama's not going to let him go. They're going to
even if he is in the portal. I don't know. And Jacob in the chat box says Williams just got a Bama tattoo.
Oh, there you go.
That's like that. Hey, you know, I don't know. That would anyway.
You mentioned Peyton Thorne. Like Auburn was another one of those teams in the Cam Ward sweepstakes. And you look back at it now, and supposedly the dollar figure was 1.75, right? So imagine you're a program, and again, for Carolina, thankfully, they don't have to worry about this. They don't have to get in these bidding wars over quarterbacks, because when you've got that settled, everything else becomes so much easier. So you look at it now, and you're like, okay, there were probably teams that said, we'll give you $1 million. We'll give you 1.25, but we're not going 1.75. And so they let Cam Ward has no ties to Miami. It's not like Cam Ward grew up he's a Texas kid. He didn't grow up a Miami fan. That was a pure highest bidder gets the player. And Cam Ward went to Miami and was certainly a difference maker. And other teams did not. And those other teams had a lot of issues at quarterback.
I'm going to tell you this right now, $500,000 and a quarterback like him.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. The quarterback is different. Like quarterback can change your whole thing. And think about, and I've said this before the portal, how many transfer quarterbacks lit it up? I mean, that's been a position where transfers have been in vogue since before the portal. Joe Burrow is an example. Where would LSU have been without Joe Burrow? You know, I mean, transfer guy. You know, you kind of look around at all the transfer quarterbacks that have done. Kyler Murray did a pretty good job at Oklahoma, right? Transfer guy. He was at A&M to begin with. So I'm with you, man. Those guys are invaluable. You just pay them what they're worth and then try to evaluate and develop well behind them, because you're going to have guys that leave that want to go play. That position in and of itself is a lot like basketball. Playing time drives a lot of it more so than money. But $500,000, I mean, think about the value you would have had at Auburn this year if you'd have been on a playoff.
That's my point. Like that's a drop in the bucket.
That's invaluable. Yeah, that's a drop
from
in the bucket.
a 6-win team to a team that competes for 10.
Yeah, Florida State.
$500,000 is nothing.
Florida State was missing. Florida State's got bigger problems than that. But you know, so we'll see. By the way, I just got a text. We were talking about that show Landman. The wife, she's a hot blonde in the show. And this whole thing's set in Midland, Texas, by the way. So Friday Night Lights, and they actually, Billy Bob Thornton's in it, so it's kind of neat. They actually go to an Odessa Pyramid game in one of the episodes. So it's a callback to Friday Night Lights. But the wife in it, who's hot, was the whipped cream bikini girl from Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, JB was filling us in on that. Yeah, it's the whipped cream bikini.
The
I
whipped
think I
cream
remember him
bikini.
saying that once. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good eye candy, to be honest with you. I'm
glad
not a blonde. I'm not a blonde man, but you know, it is what it is.
I'm sure that's what you would have said if she walked out in your single days in a whipped
I'd have just been,
bikini.
I'm not. I don't
sorry.
really into blondes.
Appreciate the Ready Whip performance, but I'm not a blonde person.
No,
so
I'd have
you,
been
if you
like,
could just walk on your way, put some clothes on,
I'd have been
I'll
like,
go back to playing Sega.
Shall I get the hot fudge? I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's you know, that's Jacob says the Ryan Williams tattoo, his initials are RAW, raw. So the A was the script A from Alabama. So who knows? Who knows? But so yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think that pickup for Auburn that may turn the corner. I like I said, I was kind of worried about Arkansas. I worry about Auburn too, because it has been a while since they've had a winning season. Hugh Freeze, to me and all of us here, was a grand slam type of hire for them. It made all the sense in the world. He doesn't look like, I mean, I assume he's interested in recruiting because they're recruiting lights out. I mean, they signed the fourth best class in the country this year. Bama is the second. You look at Bama's class, 7 kids from California. How long are they going to stay there, really? I mean, DeBoer brought his guy from Washington and took advantage of some previously existing relationships. Those kids, even the kids that go to Alabama, went to Alabama under Saban, California kids would depart. I've seen this movie many, many times. Auburn, meanwhile, signed 9 of the top 12 within the state of Alabama in a good year. I don't know. I think I'd rather have Auburn's class. So they're recruiting well, but quarterback's been an issue. You know, Thorne was okay at Michigan State. I didn't realize this. He is from a high school that my stepson's team plays, Naperville Central. Didn't know he was a Chicagoland kid. Yeah, I watched Naperville Central beat Lockport High School this year. But it's so I don't really the fit kind of questioned me when they got him. But you know, Freeze does what he does. So we'll see. But I do think that's significant because I do believe that Jackson Arnold's the type of guy, if he can cut down on the mistakes, and hopefully he will. Yeah. And with more weapons, I mean, he's a gunslinger, you know, but can you kind of, well, so was Brett Favre, you know, I mean, you know, Brett threw a lot of picks as well. So, you know, you got to take the good with the bad, but I think that is significant, Mike.
He's got the ability. Like, if you look at Spencer Rattler's mistakes last year, by the way, threw a touchdown pass, came off the bench, looked good for New Orleans yesterday. He's actually going to have a chance at that starting job next year, because I don't know if there's anybody really that they're gung-ho about in New Orleans about right now. But, you know, some of Spencer's mistakes were based on just desperation. You couldn't block anybody and you had no running game. That was the case for Jackson Arnold. So I think Jackson Arnold could actually be the guy. And it's put up or shut up. There's no 5-year plan anymore in the SEC. So when they hired Hugh Freeze, which, again, everybody thought was a great hire, you expected results better than 6-7, 6-6 off the bat, 5-7. You need to go ahead and do. So now you've got your missing piece. That is the guy I'm sure they paid a pretty penny, because they didn't want to lose out again. They didn't want to wind up with the consolation prize of quarterback, because you can be loaded everywhere else, and if you got quarterback issues, you got problems. So they feel like they've got the guy, and as you mentioned, the recruiting class was terrific. They've got some good players coming back. Maybe Auburn now becomes relevant again, because they have not been relevant for the last 4 years in college football.
No. All right. We got to get another break, Phil.
Yeah.
Break 2, hour 2, break 2.
One.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, let's see. Don't worry. before we hit break, don't forget, weird stuff happens this time of year. Rain, wind, snow, cold. But, if there are any natural disasters that happen to befall your house, or if you happen to fall victim of a fire this time of year, something that we all kind of watch out for with real trees. For God forbid something like that happens to you, but if it does, give Resto Pros in the Midlands a call. They will be happy to walk you through the insurance process, of course, handle all of the hard stuff for you, and make it as easy as possible for you to get your life back in order. RestoProsOfTheMidlands.com. And we will be right back after a quick break.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
I'm not allowed to tell the ref how bad he is, so I'm going to need you to do that for me. Oh. He said, "You're gone."
I'm a beggar who could use some help. I'm a seeker, searching for myself. I'm a rolling stone, just waiting on a friend. I'm a lover, wishing on a star for another, with a broken heart to hold each other close till the end.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com, and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas! Carve the turkey, turn the ball game on. Make Bloody Marys, cause we all want one. Send somebody to the stop and go. We need some celery and a can of fake snow. A bag of lemons and some diet Sprites. A box of tampons, some Salem lights. Hallelujah, everybody say cheese. Merry Christmas from the family. Feliz
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show, of course, partly presented by the South Carolina Education Lottery. Did you know that since 2002, more than 229,000, beg pardon, lottery-funded scholarships and grants have been awarded to University South Carolina students, like the Life, SC Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. Lottery proceeds have funded millions of scholarships and grants across the state of South Carolina and thousands of school buses to help kids get to and from school. Playing the lottery is a fun win for education in South Carolina. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/education wins.
Nicely done. We love the South Carolina Education Lottery and all they do for education and for all they do for helping some of us win. One of us is going to win this damn thing eventually, by golly. And when that happens, there'll be a news flash on our future. The future for lunch or for dinner could be D's Wings. They, once again, a great place to go for the holidays. They don't do reservations, but if you have 20 people or more, why not send the whole clan over there? They will never turn you away. They do call ahead seating and do their very best to get you seated close to the time that you want. It's not a perfect system, but much better than turning business away. So many times you hear these stories of like restaurants that will turn a party of 10 away. We can't accommodate you. Sorry. That's your problem, not mine. That they don't do that at D's. They also answer the phone. Oh, yeah, and the food is delicious. Best wings in town for those of you in Columbia for a long time. It's not just the wings. They've got the ribs. They've got steam pots. They've got crab legs. They've got it all, and they've got a great location not too far from Founders Park. That's D's Wings. Billy and the gang do an excellent job and have done so for a couple of decades now in Columbia, South Carolina. JC, what else are you looking at this time of year? You know, it's so funny to think about it. Do you remember, I know January used to be such a huge month because we would have to cover, all right, who's visiting, had the visit go, who committed, who didn't, all leading up to National Signing Day in February. And now the second signing day is almost anticlimactic. Like this is all the action's happening now. We had the initial signing day, which has become the premier one, right? Most of the top 300 kids sign there. And then everybody's all in on the portal now.
It's boring. I mean, a lot of the portal kids trickle in first week of January. Sometimes you'll get some additions sort of late after it closes. But January is boring. I mean, around here, 2019 class, you had Jordan Birch drama that everybody followed. And then 2023 was actually pretty good because of Nick Harbor. The Gamecocks got him on signing day, the second one. And it was national news. He was the highest rated player available. And it was a lot of high drama between the Gamecocks and Oregon at the end. And Carolina won out. And Beamer went on ESPN, and that was good pub for the school. That was like the off season of awesomeness right up until the kickoff against North Carolina. Me and Phil were sitting there.
Gosh, yeah.
Great seats, 50-yard line, 8 rows back, Bank of America. Best seats I've probably ever had to a football game as far as being close.
Same, yeah.
A bad feeling. I had a bad feeling the minute that thing kicked off. And then it was just like a year of suck. A year and some change. Because really, if you think about this past season, guys, the season sort of changed at Oklahoma, but that was one game in October. And they were just 4-3, and then there's another freaking open date. And then the calendar changed, and there's 5 games in November. So really, we only got to enjoy 1 month of goodness, right? Because September and October were kind of gripe fests.
It was a little shaky there.
It was a little shaky.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up being a great season, but the majority of the damage was done in November. By the way, I think Shane Bieber's now 13-4 in the month of November at South Carolina.
Pretty strong.
Most of his big wins, 2 wins over Clemson, the win over Tennessee, the win over A&M. I mean, he's done pretty well with all of that. But yeah, I miss that a little bit in some ways, but it's more of like the occasional times I miss like what I used to do. because it used to be you'd have Christmas and then I'd be on a plane quickly to San Antonio or LA or Orlando for Under Armour or Army, and then watch all the best players in the country. And that's a lot of fun. You know, when you sit there and you're watching Jameis Winston practice in Orlando and you look back on it, or you're watching AJ Green back in the day, or Julio Jones, or, you know, you name your great player. Deion Sanders coaching defensive backs for Team Under Armour. That was good. Herm Edwards was the head coach. I got to meet Steve Mariucci. One of the best interviews I ever did in my life was Sam Weish, who coached one year, the late Sam Weish. And that guy told it like it was. It was like late 2000s. Those were always great memories. Then we come back and we'd huddle and we'd meet and do final. You got to finalize the rankings, right? And then it is a sprint of like just news flying, visit weekends. I mean, you're working 24 hours a day up until the first Wednesday of February. And then it's like election day almost if you're in politics. And then it's just this release afterward. You're like,
yeah, no, it's huge.
You know, but
see, I like the portal stuff because it's a more proven product, right?
Yeah. Well,
like, I mean, a 17-year-old versus a kid who's already done it. Like, I know what I'm getting in Dane Key. I know what I'm getting in Eric Singleton. I know what I'm getting in Jackson Arnold. There's still some questions there, but I have a better idea what I'm getting there as opposed to a kid who lit it up in high school.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely the case. And it gets, if you look at the numbers, like for our industry, having signing day before the portal opened really helped boost signing day back up. It's never going to be what it used to be, right? Because fans now are like, yeah, okay, we got him, whatever, good. We'll see if he sticks. You know, we're glad, happy about this class. You know, the big decisions at the end, of course, fans are still interested. But portal is like infinitely more popular, and it's for that reason, because your hardcore, there's different levels of fans. Like, you know, most of my friends are Gamecock fans, right? I don't know how I grew up with like only one buddy that pulled for Clemson. It wasn't intentional because I grew up in Spartanburg, and 40% of my graduating class at Burns went to Clemson. I wasn't friends with any of those jokers. All my friends were Gamecocks except Michael Norkett, who is our one. Who, by the way, Mike, he was at the wedding. He was the guy with the laptop that ate all the bacon wrapped shrimp.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
He definitely marched
the one Clemson dude in our whole group. But anyway, so most of my friends are Gamecocks, but there's different levels. You know, you have the guy that goes to every game, that's on the message board, that follows recruiting, that knows the roster front and back. And then you have people that are sort of into it, that do like to follow recruiting and all, but they don't know the whole, you know, they're not like sitting there looking up guys. It's not as important. They know the roster and the players. They go to just about every game. And then you have people that just watch it on TV, and then you have people that just wear the jersey, and half the time they don't even watch the game. You know, so there's different levels. What the portal does is it draws in that next level of fan beyond the diehards, the diehard lights, because they know who these guys are. That's A. And then another thing it's helped to change the sport, the subject, is for the first time in my career, last summer, going on Bill King for 3 straight weeks, we talked about college baseball recruiting. Well, here's why. Baseball recruiting from the high school level, half the guys go pro anyway. You don't know who's this guy, who's that guy. It's high school baseball, right? Or travel ball or whatever. In the portal in baseball, you know who you're getting. So it's like it's definitely just like free agency. You can say this guy batted, he hit 385 for Notre Dame and did this, and this. Because I remember Bill King was asking me about it because Tennessee was getting guys out of the transfer portal for baseball. So I like that too, because I like college baseball and I want people to be interested. So it has brought in that next level that, and then there's some diehards too, like yourself, Mike, that just don't, recruiting just doesn't do it for them. And so those people like you are also brought in. So it makes our audience a little bit bigger as far as like what I do online with the bigspur.com and all that 24/7 and all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, I think we have an NFL model, and some of that is not so attractive, but I think some of it is actually good for college football. And college football has never been more popular and has never had this level of attention. I mean, we've got playoff games going up against NFL games this weekend. I look at those playoff games and just a smile emerges from my face to realize this is actually happening. We've actually got home field playoff games with quality teams with something to play for. I haven't heard much opt-out drama in any of these games. Great stories surrounding all of them.
There's less opt-outs for bowls this year too.
Yeah, well, hopefully people.
I've noticed that. I was going to see it. Was that just kind of
I hope that the people signing these contracts are smart enough to say, like, if you want to get paid, if you want to get that final payment, you're not just opting out. Like, you've got to play. Now, for somebody like a Luther Burden, he's probably already got enough money, and he's going to be a first-round pick, and so I get it. But there's no reason why you can't structure these things where there's still plenty incentive for college football players to go ahead and actually play the game in a bowl game. I know we're running out of time, but I want to mention on the other side what we could be seeing, the way coaches on the hot seat, the way their deals are structured. There's some stuff going on that might be a harbinger of things to come. We'll talk about that in hour number 3 as ITG rolls on.
'Twas the holiday season at Love Chevrolet, and more than just Santa needed a sleigh. Mom needs a Tahoe to taxi the team, but drives a Corvette in all of her dreams. For Dad, a new truck is just fine by him, like a rugged Silverado in the high country trim. Sister wants a Blazer in hot cherry red. For me, a new Trax, her young brother said. Grandma can't wait to open that box. She hopes it's a key to her new Chevy Equinox. For gifts such as these, on this very day, there's no greater place than Love Chevrolet. Find them in Harbison between Frankie's and Lowe's, or lovechevy.com, as everyone knows. For a deal like no other, stop by or just call. Merry Christmas from Love to one and to all. Together, let's drive.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks!
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Bells ringing down cobblestone Charleston streets. She's the morning sun rising on the horseshoe at USC. She's moonlight on Blackwater, a John Deere down a Greer farm road. over nice and slow. No, there ain't nothing like her. She's a southern one of a kind. Even in my dreams I still find her. She's like an old friend waiting when I close my eyes. And how lucky I am to call her mine. No, you'll never find another like my Carolina. My Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. My Carolina. South Carolina. South Carolina.
Inside the Gamecocks The Show, final hour of the show cranking up now. Mike's got an interesting thought for us about the changing coaching contracts in the current changing college football landscape.
Yeah. By the way, there's been news since we've even been on the air. Drew Aller is coming back for Penn State. Kind of a big deal. He's thrown 50 career touchdown passes. It wasn't always the yellow brick road for Aller. At times he struggled in big games, but then again, James Franklin as a whole has struggled in big games. But bottom line is they got to the playoff, they're in it, and Aller coming back just sets them up for success in 2025 as opposed to, again, possibly having to be portal hunting for a quarterback in the middle of a playoff race. JC's favorite football coach located not far from there, Marcus Freeman, getting an extension at Notre Dame. So they are going to continue to invest in Coach Freeman. See how Notre Dame does against Indiana.
All those rumors about the Bears job.
Yeah.
Is it over though, or?
Yeah, I can't see them going into that. That wouldn't make any sense in my opinion.
Yeah. I think he's found his spot, and Notre Dame is built. I mean, Brian Kelly, he hasn't done anything that Brian Kelly hasn't done. With Brian Kelly, they went to the BCS championship. They made it to a playoff, but they can't get over the hump. And that's the same thing with Notre Dame. The only difference is now they've got losses to Marshall and Northern Illinois that have kind of like been total head scratchers. But they're going to win with that schedule, the way they can set everything up and not have to go through a conference grind. They're going to win 10 games a year. They're going to be in the playoff more times than not. And then they're going to get bounced by a better team more times than not at some point in the playoff. But if you're Notre Dame, sounds like that's good enough. So Freeman will be there a while. The story that I think is interesting in that I'm wondering if this might be a trend. So Mike Norvell had about as disastrous a season as you can have. You have a 13-0 a year ago. Your quarterback goes down. He's the heartbeat of the team. Georgia basically just used him as a punching bag for 4 quarters last season in that bowl game. So they roll the dice on DJU, Uyuglele, and they got the same results. Actually, they got worse results, if that's possible, than everybody else did. DJ wasn't ready. They didn't have the same stud receivers they had a year ago. They lost all those studs on the defensive line, like Burse, et cetera, guys that are playing on Sundays now. And in my opinion, the team flat out quit during the year, which we've seen happen before. They had enough talent where they could have done better in the ACC than they actually did. So that then turns all this heat on Mike Norvell. And every year we've got coaches at major programs that wind up on the hot seat. In the Billy Napier Florida case, one of the things that kept Billy Napier around, they announced he was staying before the wins against LSU and Ole Miss, much to the dismay of many Florida fans. But what they sold the fans and the boosters on was, hey, look, we can fire this guy and spend 30-something million on a buyout, or we could take that 30-something million and put it in the portal and actually give you a great crop of players to look forward to. And that was part of the sales pitch. And the rest, as they say, is history. Well, Mike Norvell's taking it to another level. He's got an even more massive buyout. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, but trust me, it's a lot. And he's now saying, I'm willing to restructure my contract. I know you guys are hating me right now. I know you guys are looking at what's the hot coach that we can hire. How about this? Redo my deal, and I will personally take out of that deal $4.5 million to help launch what they call the Vision of Excellence Initiative. The VOE, the VOEI. I don't know. There's no clever acronym for that. But the Vision of Excellence Initiative. So what he's telling everybody to get some goodwill is, not only do you not fire me, which I don't think Mike Norvell should be fired anyway, but that's a whole other story. I'm going to take $4.5 million of my hard-earned money out of my contract, and whoop, I'm going to give it to trying to widen that net and get more players. I think you could see more of this coming down the pike. I think you could see more coaches that are making insane money and know that everybody wants them gone. Say, you know what? Here's a couple million of my own dollars. And Brian Kelly, by the way, at LSU has done some of this. I'll go ahead and put forth my best effort to help things out. I'm not just going to go hat in hand to every booster. Hey, remember me? I'm out for more money again. Remember? Yeah. Pick up the phone so I can ask you for another $500,000. I'm going to go ahead and help the best I can. Here's $4.5 million of my own dollars. So I just thought it was an interesting story because I do think we might see more of this.
So with the Brian Kelly news, Mike, the cynic in me was like, I'll guarantee you there were some clandestine conversations to be had, and that they're going to offset, booster club donations with coaches' salaries, so that the boosters, instead of giving to the actual athletics clubs, can then donate what they would give to the athletics clubs to NIL to help bolster the NIL efforts.
Well, that's going away though, Phil.
Right. But you got one more shot.
But you got 6 months to kind of squeeze it all in.
Yeah.
What Kelly did was fundamentally different than what Norvell did.
He's offering up $1 million.
Same concept. Well, no, he's going to match up to $1 million.
Well,
and this is kind of smart because coaches can't put their own money into collectives and things like that. It's against the rules. But what he can do, coaches do this all the time. That's why there's a Steve and Jerry Spurrier indoor practice facility at Carolina. They'll donate their own money back to facilities. Lou Holtz did it. Spurrier did it. Will Muschamp did it. They all did it. It's a tax write-off. Some of them probably need it. So what Kelly said was, okay, I'm going to match every dollar LSU fans give to our collective with a donation to the athletic fund, which is they build buildings and stuff like that.
Kelly Family $1 Million Match Challenge.
The Kelly Family,
$1 million
which I thought was like fake. I was a little fake. I mean, Brian Kelly's made so much money. I mean, he made tons of money at Notre Dame. I mean, he's rich and he's earned it. I don't like to talk bad about him, because I think he's one of the few people out there that's worked his way up in this business, was given nothing, and worked his way up from Grand Valley State, spent 10 years at Grand Valley State. However, he gets on my nerves sometimes. And this is one of those examples of him getting on my nerves. LSU's NIL situation's funky. It's like you hear tale of them spending a lot of money on women's basketball. And then you hear from football how they're short. And LSU people we've had on the show have talked about that. It's kind of weird, but nevertheless, smart move. Norvell, I mean, imagine you're Florida State, dude, and you've sued the ACC to get out, and you're poking your chest out. You're like, blah, blah, blah. And this is an athletic department that historically got a bargain from Bobby Bowden all those years, got a bargain with facilities where they didn't have to build any because kids just wanted to come there, and they're in the state of Florida, got a bargain being in the ACC where they could just roll over everybody even in a down year. I mean, they have had it on easy street in Tallahassee, right? They're not used to spending it. So this new era hits, they're like, oh my God. Well, then their collective is really good, and they buy an undefeated team out of the portal, and they're like, oh, yes, they start poking their chest out. We're back, right? We're going to sue the ACC and get back because we belong in the SEC, or we belong in the Big Ten, and blah, 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 blah. And they're very public about it, just trashing the league. And then they turn around and go 2-10. and on top of getting their sphincters annihilated in the Orange Bowl last year, after all those mercenaries not opted out. Then not only that, last offseason, they signed Mike Norvell because they thought he was going to go to Alabama to an insane Jimbo Fisher style contract.
Well, Alabama did go after him. That's not a rumor.
Maybe so. Yeah, no, I'm sure there were conversations, but Mike Norvell has like a $68 million buyout. They still don't have any money. I mean, they're still not in a big conference. And now it's like the AD. I got a call one day or text from a buddy like, hey, Florida State guy that covers Florida State. South Carolina looking at Michael Alford, the AD at Florida State, for that job. And I was like, hell no, they're not. It's like, no way. No way. And then it comes out that the Big Ten and SEC, the Big Ten's like, Florida State's not an honest broker. And the SEC was like, we never wanted him anyway. And it's like, oh God. And so now they're like, Alford's like, oh no, we never said we wanted to leave. We never said we wanted to leave. You sued them in federal court to get out of it. You never said you wanted to leave. And so now you're 2-10 and god awful. I mean, that's worse than you'd have to go back to like before Bobby Bowden was the coach there. Like those years where they were this bad would probably be closer to when they were an all girls school.
Yes.
Than that. I mean, that's that bad.
All girls
that bad, dude. I mean, and the stadium's all jacked up because they're remodeling it, so they had to have it just looked like a clown show all year. And now they're like, they can't get out of anything with the coach, $64 million. They just can't do it. And now they're like, oh, no, we never said we want to leave the ACC. Okay. I mean, look, I know some Florida State fans. They're good people. I've never had a problem with that fan base, but pride in this sport nowadays, pride comes before the fall, and you better be careful and constant. Don't never think you've arrived, because a dip is just around the corner. You mentioned Alabama fans earlier. I think Alabama's going about 8-4 next year.
It depends which Jalen Milroe shows up.
If he comes back, what if he goes pro?
If he goes pro, coming off those last few games, like what round does he think he's going to go in? Now, I know at a combine he will shine.
Well, the arrogance of the NFL, dude. They're going to be like, I can save it.
Yeah, that's
right. You know what it is, JC?
All over. I can fix it.
I'll tell you exactly what it would look like. Somebody would say, that's Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, somebody would.
No.
Anthony Richardson was not a good college quarterback, and he went in the top 10 and is now starting for Indianapolis. Does not play very well, but he is a starter. So you're right. Somebody can say, it's like the woman who always dates the loser. I can fix him.
Yeah,
I can fix him.
Like Will Smith and I Am Legend at the end. I can save you. I can save you. Here comes Mac Jones and Mitch Trubisky and Blake Bortles. They're like, I can save you. I can save you.
It's like
Anthony Richardson pops up.
Sam
Jamarcus Russell's in the back. He's the alpha.
Marcus Russell.
Vince Young.
Well, I mean, shoot. I think a lot of people would have bought in on Vince Young back in the day, and then for whatever reason, that turned south in a hurry. But it's like these whack jobs who think, that Luigi, I know he ruthlessly shot innocent man in the back in cold blood. But I'm going to write him a letter and sprinkle it with perfume, and I'm going to turn him around. If he somehow avoids life in prison, I can turn him. I can fix him. That's the way a lot of NFL scouts look at it. So Milroe's a guy, I mean, in terms of just measurables, he could go to a combine and pull an Anthony Richardson and look really good doing it. And all it takes is one. I can fix him. But to me, he absolutely needs another year, because you can't. Now, he could just put together some good tape, plenty of good tape out there on Jalen, but they're going to see the bad tape too. The scouts are smart enough to look at all the tape.
Absolutely. So who's the quarterbacks coach out there? Is that somebody, or are we looking at somebody with a proven track record of being able to develop? Yeah.
It's whoever's the coordinators. It's not Nick Sheridan. Didn't Nick Sheridan stay at? Didn't he stay at Washington? Somebody stayed at Washington. I think it is Nick Sheridan.
Sheridan, I mean, he did follow DeBoer.
Yeah, good. I mean, he developed Michael. Sheridan. I mean, helped with Michael Penix. I mean, I don't. I don't think it's coaching, dude. I think it's who Milroe is. But I know I mean, somebody drafted Anthony Richardson 4th as a redshirt sophomore, and for 1 year. That's why I kind of lean towards Lenoris Sellers getting drafted.
Well, he fits
next
that
season,
mold, right? Yeah, he fits what they're looking for now.
I remember when, speaking of Brian Kelly, before the Carolina played LSU, he said, he reminds me of Anthony Richardson, and I about choked on my own spit. Because, I mean, look, in fairness, at the time with the body, you probably think that, but I kind of figured I knew he would be better than Anthony Richardson, and he is. But so you look at what they did with him. I mean, this guy, Sellers, I mean, they're probably like, he runs like Michael Vick. Like, he's quick like Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson, that type of guy. Yet he's 242 pounds, like a Cam Newton. And he throws a nice ball. I mean, and he's going to be in a pro-style offense for 2 years, which allows you, as much as I gripe about it, which allows a quarterback to make those reads that they have to make in the pros. He's starting to do that. And if you look at it this season, guys, he picked up on it probably quicker than any quarterback I've seen. Because we went from Perry talking about how the 3-read things were ruining quarterbacks, and then in 2 weeks, he's throwing for 353 yards against Missouri. And it's not just guys running wide open. He's finding, make it. So I don't know. That's why I kind of think he's good. I'm going to answer some chat box questions real quick, and then we'll get to the break. Is that okay?
Yeah. Go ahead. We only have one break left, so we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've missed some here. Okay. All right, I'll just start in the middle here. Yeah, Kelby Collins is supposed to visit D-tackle DN from Florida out of Alabama. Carolina was second. Don't always assume because you're second, though, you're going to get a guy out of the portal. I've seen that work against other schools, too. Clint can't get excited about basketball season. Me either, Clint. And it is the North Florida loss that's lingering with me. I know other schools have it, but I can't let it go.
Let it go.
I just can't let it go, man.
Yeah, all you got to do is win that opener against Mississippi State in conference play, and you'll be right back on the bandwagon.
That game's at Starkville, and I think Chris Jans was so frustrated losing the Gamecocks twice last year like he did. I just don't know. But anyway, it's nothing a Tuesday night win. I'll be excited again if they win Tuesday night.
Yeah, beat Clemson. I guarantee you, everybody will be back on track.
That's a quality win this year because they're good.
Quad one.
So Xavier says, thought there's no more show till January. Xavier, we're going to break on Friday. So, I guess that's the 20th or whatever. Bruin asked, anybody see any drones?
I've heard
not over Atlanta, but everywhere else in the country.
Yeah, I've heard.
I hear tale of
Charleston. Yeah.
So we're not supposed to be worried about that, right?
Yeah,
unidentified.
I guess not.
Nothing to see here
that are the size of an SUV that are just hovering over major cities. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
When I heard they were the size of an SUV, I was like, that's disturbing because if one of them falls out of the sky, it could kill you.
Yeah.
Like when I think drones, I'm thinking these people that just have these little, they look like little,
the little
remote control airplanes or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a damn.
We're getting punked.
So yeah. What if what's his name is out there? Johnny Knoxville from Jackass is out there on a boat flowing. Hey, by the way, that
I wish it was that.
Who's the comedian that got in trouble for saying all that at the Trump rally? The roaster guy,
Hinchcliffe,
Tyler something.
Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, Tyler Hinchcliffe. He did another routine the other day. He was like, "It's so bad, Johnny Knoxville would not come on Kill Tony." He canceled. He's like, when Johnny Knoxville cancels on you, you know you're in trouble. So anyway, I digress on that. By the way, we have confirmation. Cornbread Cowboy did play football. Played. Almost squared off against Johnsonville, and Lance Player, Latte Lance, our man here, they almost squared off on the gridiron down in 1A ball in South Carolina. So there's that. Thoughts on Justice Haynes? He's supposed to visit this week. I was alluding. Some people alluded to a running back in the portal before he got in the portal. That was probably the guy people were talking about. I mentioned it on the Big Spur. 5-star guy out of Alabama. I talked about this earlier. I think he could contribute and maybe start. I like Matthew Fuller and Jawarn Howell, and I like Attaway. I like Haynes. But the problem with not getting a guy out of the portal at running back is you only have 3. And 2023, you went into the season with like 2.5. I count Juju McDowell as a half, and that's not an offense to him. It just means he's an X factor guy, not a running back full time. And then a couple of guys got hurt, man, and you had Mario Anderson, and that's it. So you got to have depth. And if you're going to add a player, you may as well add Justice Haynes, in my opinion. So we'll see.
I'm glad you brought up the running back position, though, because Rocket Sanders doesn't get enough credit for what he meant to that offense.
Oh God,
last year.
Yeah, he was great.
He not even when he didn't get a carry, defenses had to respect Rocket Sanders because he's a flat out dude, and that was a really big pickup. So yeah, I mean, the question becomes, how big of a setback are you going to have? No offense to the other guys, but I don't see a Rocket Sanders in that stable. So I'd be curious to see what they try to reel in.
Rocket's so rare, Mike, because you don't really have a whole lot of 30-pound guys that can run and catch like him.
Yeah.
I'll give you a player comparison for Jawarn Howell.
Okay.
Derek Watson.
Oh, well.
Right down to the fact he wears number 20. He's got the spin move Derek had and everything.
Okay.
I like him. And if he's they redshirted him this year because they could. And then the kid, Matthew Fuller, that redshirted, that was a true freshman this year. That guy is a big physical player. I think probably a good comparison to him would be Danny Ware that played at Georgia. You remember Danny Ware back in the day?
Absolutely.
Early 2000s. Danny Ware was not an all SEC guy like Rocket Sanders, but Danny Ware was a capable running back. I mean, he's your bigger guy that you just don't want to tackle, like Danny Ware was. I was always like the two guys I would never want to tackle on Georgia's offense back in that period were Danny Ware and Thomas Brown, even though Thomas Brown was 5'9", 190. That dude.
Coaching now.
He was very physical. So Thomas Brown, of course, the interim coach of the Bears now. Rolling on through it. Bruin laughs at some of the Sellers comparisons. Early. I don't think I laughed. I was just like, I may have disagreed. So Charles says the drone thing is Machado about nothing. Yeah, so there's all that today. Again, Omega Blake, who I mentioned earlier, is visiting today, a wide receiver that was here before. That's going to be interesting. And then what's the Real Housewives of New Jersey name?
Judice.
Judice, yeah. Mm-hmm. Center from Michigan. Give me all the guys that played offensive line at Michigan you can get. I mean, toughness. The center he's in today, and then of course the former 5-star D tackle from A&M, Gabriel Brownlow Dindy, who hadn't played all that much out there, but is a heck of a high school recruit out of the garden spot of Lakeland. Just to recap all that. Pimp on the Bloom says, think we can land the Alabama running back. It kind of depends. I mean, Ole Miss is kind of in that conversation right now. Maybe Michigan and Ohio State. But, we heard Carolina was in it before he got in the portal. Initial reports were like Ohio State, Michigan. Michigan hasn't even gotten a visit yet. Carolina's getting one. So you kind of follow that information. I think they've got a pretty good shot. And getting the guy that started part of the time at Alabama to replace Rocket Sanders, Mike, even though he wasn't terribly productive, but none of the Alabama running backs were really this year.
No, and their offensive line wasn't very good either.
Yeah, and that was weird
because they very un-Bama-like. But yeah, if I were to throw Milroe a little bit of a life preserver, I'd say, in fairness to him, he didn't have a line. That's like the second time in 3 years, even going back to Saban's last year, where their O-line wasn't terrific. Now, eventually that first year they got it together, but for a while there, you just assume that Alabama is going to be good up front every year, but that's not the case in college football.
It's hard on offense, dude. Like, especially in the league, because you're playing insane defensive lines. And yeah, I mean, I didn't think Bama's offensive line was all that great last year under Saban. I mean, I thought they were kind of up and down, but they were expected to be, outside of LSU, they were supposed to be one of the better O-lines in the league. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure.
Well, even LSU's offensive line was a little bit of a disappointment. They were supposed to be the premier line in football. They were supposed to win the Joe Moore Award, which, by the way, went
two first-round picks on there, right? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, dude. I can't name an offensive line in the SEC this year. I would go, "Yep, I'll take those guys." like Les a no-brainer. If I were, oh man, they had a really good line this year. I mean, A&M struggled at times. Maybe Texas. Huh?
Especially when Georgia struggled at times on the line, especially when they lost Tate Ratledge.
Yes. Texas, when they played Georgia, struggled.
I thought Ole Miss's O-line was pretty good.
Except for the Kentucky game.
Well,
one notable exception.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't do anything right in that game. But for the most part, what they got out of the portal. And by the way, my source at Ole Miss tells me they're more focused on Singleton, the kid from Georgia Tech, than Dane Key, but they're looking at both of them. But they got what they could ask for. They're an example of you can live in the portal and do pretty damn well. They've got much more hits than misses in the portal. Ole Miss does. That defense was the best defense I've seen in Oxford in a long, long time.
Oh,
and 10 out of the 11 starters are out of the portal.
Oh, so you look at their depth chart, and it was like portal
everywhere.
They do a good job. I think South Carolina, Missouri, and Ole Miss, all three are. I don't want to say portal team, but they rely on the portal. But it's Carolina and Missouri are kind of more similar, and then Ole Miss is kind of they do it a different way. They're portal heavy, but you know what, Mike? I'm gonna give everybody a little history lesson here.
I like it.
Remember when Mississippi State was before Dan Mullen got there and got Prescott or whoever, but I'll take you back to the 90s. You remember Mississippi State was really good?
Yeah. You mean like
Jackie Sherrill?
Are you talking Jackie Sherrill, SEC championship game appearance?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Good. They had for about 4 or 5 years. Okay. They kind of took a Bill Snyder approach. Because of course Mississippi has a bunch of good junior colleges, just like Kansas does. That's why Kansas State went JUCO heavy, and that worked for them for a while. Because Mississippi has good football players, a lot of them do go JUCO, and it's only a state with 2 million people, so you don't have a base, right? And then there's the Hugh Freeze way to do it, but sometimes, as we've seen, that can get you in trouble. But so. I don't think that being transfer heavy based on another school in Mississippi, being transfer heavy back how you used to have to do it for 5-6 years and winning a division. I think there's precedent there to do it that way. And I think Lane Kiffin sort of has geared it up for that. I mean, I think when you expect it, you know what you're doing, and you have a good collective, and you kind of know how to manage it. I think you can be okay doing that. I do think Ole Miss will be an outlier. I don't think every school can do it that way. Just like when Charlie Weiss tried to do it the Kansas State way, I think they went 0-12. It's not for everybody, but I think the schools in Mississippi can kind of do it. But with South Carolina and Missouri, though, it's like they have a nice blend, and their state laws NIL-wise are similar, where it's you got a chunk of high school guys, and you get the guys from in the state and other folks, and you develop them, and then you fill needs in the portal, and it's not always big name guys. Eli Drinkwitz does a good job of evaluating. I mean, he had a D2 guy lead the SEC in rushing a couple of years ago. So, and then the Noel kid they had this year is from App State. And Carolina kind of follows the same path. So I think for schools like that, kind of with where they're at in the pecking order in the SEC, using the portal to your advantage, no matter how you do it, it can get you to a level where you can compete. It's not always everybody. South Carolina's defense certainly was not but 3 portal guys, but those were really good players that made it from, oh, that's a nice defense, to, man, all 11 are nasty. So, same thing with Missouri and the guys they get. Where would they be without Theo Weiss? There was a portal guy from Oklahoma. So
I think Carolina's success rate in the portal is pretty damn good. I mean, nobody knew Kennard was that good. I live in Atlanta. Nobody was talking about him. Rocket Sanders,
he wasn't productive.
Right. Rocket Sanders is a huge pickup that had a renaissance after an off year where he was injured a bunch at Arkansas. Spencer Rattler, of course. I mean, you don't get him without Shane's connections at Oklahoma. He provided back-to-back top 10 wins and deserved a better fate last year, but again was terrific overall during his time in Columbia. Juice Wells, not only did you get Juice Wells at the right time, but then he goes to Ole Miss and he turns into a pumpkin, as my friend there, who's let's just say connected, said, yeah, he's allergic to the big moment. Like they can't wait to get rid of him. They have buyer's remorse on Juice. So Carolina got the best of Juice, and they sent the worst of them to Oxford, Mississippi.
The juice was not worth the squeeze.
The juice was, very nice. Very nice. That's where you drop the bike, JC. Call it a show. Punch the clock at 1:37.
I mean, right. I should have
Juice
jumped
had
right
60. Juice had 60 receptions for almost 60 receptions for 980 yards in 2022. With a mad scientist offensive coordinator who would target him one game and would not even put him in the game plan the next, like a moron. Finally, the last 2 games when they put restrictions on the scientist and said, you're only calling off this play sheet. He, the kid lit Tennessee on fire and then had, if it weren't for him, they wouldn't have beaten Clemson either. It was unfortunate, kind of the path he decided to take. But I agree. They got the best out of him. And, hey, Mario Anderson had a great year at Memphis.
Absolutely.
But, if they as bad as last season ended up being, and I don't know that it was bad. It was just kind of disappointing. Mario Anderson had some great moments at Carolina. They got him from Newberry College. So
I would say Carolina's hit percentage is pretty damn good. Everybody's got fails, everybody's got busts. You're not going to bat 1,000 in the portal. You're just not. But if you look at what Carolina has done, and they haven't lived by it, but it's been an integral part of roster development, like it is for so many other teams, I think Carolina's got a pretty good efficiency rate, and that's all you can ask.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you want to get guys that you can bring in that could make a difference makers, and then hopefully go on to the NFL. And Kennard and Demetrius Knight are both probably going to be drafted. And then, the other part of the equation at South Carolina is because of Clemson's rise, and this is some like recruiting 201 stuff, right? Clemson, and it works for them, and that's fine. I'm not criticizing them for doing this. They don't recruit the state. They just rather go out of state. They go into Georgia and compete with Georgia for players, and they'll go to Virginia and they'll go all over. Very selective within South Carolina. Well, that leaves a whole swath of players that Carolina and Clemson used to battle over during the Bowden era and Spurrier and Holtz, that, if they want to stay in state and play big time football at South Carolina, most of them do, because after Holtz got here and signed Derek Watson and some other guys, and guys started staying at home more, Spurrier and Dabo got them to stay at home. It's not popular to leave anymore. You're going to have a guy like Channing Tindall that leaves and goes to Georgia every 3 or 4 years, or Ingram Dawkins, or, during a coaching change, Justice Boone went down to Florida, and of course he's in the portal again. But you're not, it's not like it was in the 90s where Alex Barron left and went to Florida State, or Richard Seymour left and went to Georgia, or, Greg Jones from Buford left and went to Florida State. Or, who's the Gavani Holiday left Camden and went to North Carolina. Sean Ellis went to Tennessee. Tennessee's national championship team had 4 starters from South Carolina. 4. It was ugly. Albert Haynes. It was ugly back then.
Flying the flag after the win at Williams-Brice.
That doesn't happen anymore. So there's a core. On top of that, recruiting 301, the state is growing like crazy. This state has gone from like 4 million people in the mid-2000s to like 6. All right. I mentioned Tennessee. Philip Fulmer used to say plainly, we don't have enough talent in this state to compete. Well, guess what? Now they do. Because the state of Tennessee, when I started covering recruiting 20 years ago in 2005, maybe put out 10, and 3 of them were in Memphis and went to Ole Miss or someplace else. And that still hurts Tennessee geography, but the state is now 25 or 30 deep. And you know why? Because it used to have 4.8 million people, and now it's 7.1.
Sun Belt. Everybody's moving to the Sun Belt.
Yeah. And so if you can continue to hit the portal like Beamer's doing, and you can get the guys from in-state and develop them, your TJ Sanders, your Nicky Manware, your Xavier Legetts, all those guys are from South Carolina. That's a nice little nucleus. And then you go get your Dylan Stewarts and Nick Harbors and, go into Georgia and get those guys just below Georgia's offer board, which are good players. Some of them are better than the guys Georgia signs because nobody bats 1,000. Spot recruit Florida and everybody else. I mean, you got players. You got enough to compete.
Who finished second in Dylan Stewart's recruiting?
Miami.
Really? Okay.
Well, he committed early, Mike, and it was weird because it was Ohio State. The team that kept trying and calling was Ohio State, but Miami was probably what I was told was number 2. But it was Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Miami, and South Carolina. So that was and then he ends up showing up, and he's better than I thought. He's better than I thought he'd be.
Shoot, and he's only going to get stronger. That body type is going to fill out. And he's got a chance to be an absolute machine. But I've always thought the Northeast could belong to Carolina in so many ways.
Yeah.
Because outside of Penn State, what do you have? You shouldn't be losing kids to Rutgers. Virginia Tech isn't what it was. And a lot of those kids, they don't want to travel. They want to get out to where college football's a bigger deal, but they don't want to go all the way to Texas or Florida or even Georgia. So there's South Carolina. Like mom and dad can still come and visit, and it's big time SEC football.
It's the closest SEC school to when you go north on 95, that whole corridor. And, Carolina's got a 4.5 star guy, Fred Johnson. That's a freshman linebacker that'll start next year from Virginia Beach. They signed 2 kids from Virginia, 4-star guys this year. There are 8 players from Maryland on the roster. Maryland, outside of Gonzie Gray and Josh Brown, Carolina never signed anybody from Maryland, right? You remember those 2 guys? Josh Brown and Gonzie Gray? Jeff Grants is from Maryland. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the school. But Maryland's, for a state that size geographically, it's got a lot of people in it, and it's loaded. They're players in Maryland. That's why everybody gets intrigued by this Maryland job, because they're like, if we can keep the Maryland DC kids at home, we'll be good. Well, they never stay at home. They all go to Penn State, et cetera. Well, South Carolina signed 2 5-stars, 2 4-stars, and gotten a bunch of transfer portal guys from Maryland. And so that's that part of the country is also because you get 2, 3, or 4, and then 2, 3, or 4 out of Georgia, and then South Carolina 8 or 9, and then you got portal guys, and eventually you got a lot of ball players, and none of the headaches with the hype that comes from schools that expect you to sign a bunch of 5-stars every year, and then you watch 30 of them leave through the portal because they're entitled and expect to be playing.
Yeah. Maryland, I mean, you talk to people, I know some people from Maryland who actually their kids went to Maryland, and the kids all say the same thing. They don't get into it there. Like if when they want to really see what college football is all about, they head down south. They go to an SEC game. It's you're right. There's a ton of talent in the Baltimore area alone, but going to watch a Terps game and going to watch an SEC game, not even comparable at all.
I've seen they played Northwestern on a Friday night, one of those ridiculous Friday night Big Ten games. 10 minutes before kickoff, man, it looked like the 80s when you watch the Braves at the end of the year. And Skip Carey's going, paid attendance is 985. Yeah.
And before we get to our final timeout, I want to mention 2 of our great Americans and great South Carolinians, Joe Lurie of Lurie Life and Health, for all your needs, and whether it's Medicare, dental and vision insurance, individual family health, life insurance, so many things that Lurie Life and Health can help you with. And again, there's no charge. It's a free service and a free phone call, and one that can be awfully beneficial for you and your family. 803-256-2067. You can also go to the website, lurieLifeandHealth.com. You won't get any better team to join you than the team assembled by one Joel Lurie. And then when it comes to suits and great clothes, Brent Skinner is your man. He is a guy that's not just a fixture in Columbia, although I do recommend if you have a chance, I know we have a lot of listeners in Columbia, which is gaining every day. I actually ran into a guy in the airport. I think I told you, JC, my travels this past week, and came up and said he was a huge fan of JC and Morgan. I said, well, if you like that, you probably would like ITG as well. He hadn't heard of it. I said, you're kidding me. With all the billboards we have up in Columbia and the blimp and the incredible marketing campaign we're doing. No, a lot of fine folks in Columbia. You do have options, folks. We're here every day from 11 to 2. So check it out. But he's probably seemed like kind of a big deal. Seemed like kind of a whale. He's probably been to Brent Skinner, but you don't have to go to the store. For those listening in Greenville and Charleston and Spartanburg and Honeypath, Brent will come to you. If you want to make an order and you want to go ahead and improve your wardrobe and get some suits and shirts and shoes and everything else, he'll come there. He's got the book. He's got all the materials. Next thing you know, it's sent to your door. That's Brent Skinner. Great place to shop for the holidays. Great place to go ahead and get a nice Christmas gift. That's bpskinnerclothiers.com, or check out the store in the Vista in Columbia. Phil, we got one more break, I assume.
Last one, yes,
Let's
sir.
take it. Let's have some parting shots, some final words of wisdom, maybe even a moment of Zen on the final segment of ITG.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
The electric grid that had been placed under Lambeau so that the field would never freeze.
Those two things are all the NCAA has. That's all they have. They're not worth anything. without the men's basketball tournament and now the women's tournament.
Listen to these interviews and more on the JC and Morgan podcast by downloading the Chief Sports app. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Merry Christmas from the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com. Gamecock owned and operated. Merry Christmas and thank you for a great year.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. Like in 2005, when lottery proceeds helped purchase new school buses that kept South Carolina students on the road to success. Because arriving safely to school every day is the first important step on their journeys to the careers and lives they've always dreamed of. When you play the lottery, you're helping fund the futures of students all over our state, which is why education is our middle name.
Welcome back, everybody. Final segment of Inside the Gamecocks, the show on a Monday here. Don't forget, last minute Christmas ideas. If y'all are people who enjoy spending time outside and want some high quality furniture and high quality accessories for your outside, make sure you hit up Palm Casual. They will take care of you. They are factory direct, not just factory direct. They are the factory. So you get the cheapest prices you can, just like buying wholesale, but they give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, you don't like the color, you don't like the way it fits, if you've used it, you've had 5 parties, if it's within 30 days, take it back. They will give you your money back. No questions asked.
I can just say on that,
you're not going to want to.
You're not bringing it back.
You're not going to want to, though.
I've had it now for months, and we've used the hell out of it. It's really good stuff. So you mentioned the prices are as good as they can be, but also, as Jamie mentions all the time, sometimes you got to pay a little bit more if you want good stuff. You know, if you want a cheap suit that's going to be wrinkled the moment you put it in the suitcase, you don't go to Brent Skinner. And if you want furniture that's going to fall apart in a couple of months, then you go to Amazon. But Palm Casual is a little different deal. Sometimes it's worth spending a little extra, but you will not get any. That stuff lasts forever. So it's worth it. Life's too short for cheap beer and bad patio furniture. Print that. Put that on a T-shirt. Mass produce it. Final segment here. We've been ultra heavy on all things football. Again, can't wait for the playoff coming up this week. Somebody asked in the chat box about Cam Scott. What about Cam Scott? He just looks nervous on the court. I talked to an assistant not long ago about that, and the first word out of his mouth, he's just a freshman.
Young.
You know, you'd like every freshman to look like a Boogie Fland of Arkansas, who's just, that dude plays like a lottery pick, and right off the bat, just it comes easy. That's not the case more times than not. And that's why all these coaches now in college basketball want to get older and live in the portal, because older guys, even ones from like mid-major schools in the MAC or the SoCon or whatever, because those dudes know how to play and win right away, whereas your average 18-year-old typically doesn't. The future is still really bright for Cam Scott, but right now, I mean, they're not depending on him. They don't have to. They have the luxury of other guys that have stepped up their game, and I think that's a good sign. The fact that Jamari Thomas is playing so much better now and Jacoby Wright. This is a team that doesn't necessarily have to have Cam Scott playing well, but it'd be a luxury. And sometimes that light comes on, could be late January, could be mid-February, where it's like, oh, okay, he's starting to get it. And then he gives you another weapon. But for now, he's still learning on the fly. And, this is a team that's going to be led obviously by Murray Boyles, and it's going to be led by Thomas and Wright and Davis and Pringle. Ugasuk's played well. Studi's a good role guy that can get hot at any time. Some people have been critical of Jordan Butler. Again, like I saw Jordan last year. Jordan's another guy. People get obsessed with 7 feet. Like, it's going to take a little bit. He's not there yet. He wasn't there last year at Missouri. He played a good amount of minutes on an 0-19 team. But, they knew a lot of that is based on upside, and you hope that he gets there eventually. The Arden Conyers thing is another guy I get asked about from time to time. I mean, I know that there was some talk about him being ready to be that kind of guy. I mean, that's just not there yet either. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot, quite honestly, out of Arden this year. But I think you've got a good nucleus of like 9 guys that you can still rely on to be very competitive in what is a murderer's row SEC. And I don't say this lightly. I think 12 teams can get in this year. It's never been anything like this in terms of just how stacked that league is.
Yeah, I mean,
Jordan Butler sort of is what he
fire here coming into the conference season. Yeah,
Jordan Butler sort of is what he is. I mean, I'd be lying. I don't want to say I'm disappointed in Cam Scott, but I expected more. And I'll just be honest, for a freshman that's that highly touted in the sport of basketball, it's not much to ask for more than 2 points a game in 10 minutes. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Was he maybe overrated? I don't know. Is he having trouble with the system? I don't know. But that's disappointing. Conyers, surprised he's not playing. He's kind of an offensive guy, though. And my suspicion is because his defense was coming along in practice, right? But that's not been his strong suit. My suspicion is he's not guarding. But there are some games where nobody else does either. And that's changed a little bit at times, especially against better teams the last couple of weeks. So hopefully they get it together and turn it around. This team's just kind of quirky right now. I think we talk about identity a lot in football, which I think is overblown. But in basketball, I do think having an identity is more beneficial than not. And sometimes they'll push the ball down the court and jack up a bunch of shots, and I hate that. And then sometimes they'll play discipline. Sometimes they'll defend. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll rebound well. Sometimes they won't. And identity in basketball to me equals consistency. And I think that's what this team's kind of trying to find. Now, if you can win games while you're trying to find it, that's good. And really, the only blemish on the schedule, right, on the loss column is that North Florida game. That's game 1. Unfortunately, the stupid net ranking counts that just as much as if they win at Rupp Arena later this year. But, Xavier, really good basketball team. That was competitive. You had a lead at halftime. And then you lost by 16 at Assembly Hall to a good Indiana team by 16. 87-71, and Indiana had a 17-1 run. So other than that, you played them even. So all is not lost. I'm just looking for this group to kind of gel, I guess. And like I said, good time to do it. It's Tuesday night, right?
No doubt. No doubt. That can erase a lot of the bad will you just spoke of.
Yeah.
And get you set for those 18 games in conference, which are going to be massive. And look, you don't just replace. You had 2 long in the tooth guards last year, and I think the assumption sometimes is, well, that's okay. It won't be hard to replace. Got this hotshot freshman and a veteran out of the portal, but it doesn't always just click right away. So give it a little bit of time. You got 2.5 weeks before SEC play begins. You've got a big one tomorrow night, which I'm sure you guys will talk about on the show extensively. and then see how it goes from there. By the way, there's a great. I mentioned the Spencer Rattler performance. Through a late touchdown pass, they could not convert on the 2-point conversion, so the Saints lost by a point. There was a great scene at the end of the Panthers game. Jenny, you guys catch that on X or social media? You had
in the post game with all the Carolina players. Yeah,
that 5 former Gamecocks all get together for a little photo op.
That was
neat. Thought that was pretty cool. I was actually going to see if we could play that clip. Maybe play it tomorrow on the show.
Yeah, we'll throw it up. Yeah. That's always when we watch the NFL. My wife's like, "Okay, who's got more Gamecocks on their team?"
Right. Yeah.
We passed through that one. I was like, "I picked one. They're all over. They're all over the field in this game."
Yeah. It was. You had Leggett, you had Dowdle, you had Horn. I know I'm missing one or two there. Clowney. Yep.
Okay,
that would be one more.
Warren Clowney. Mukwamu, yep, Dallas.
Okay.
What were we talking about? Players on the field, Gamecocks?
Panthers and Cowboys.
Have you seen Rico? Somebody on the message board
I mentioned
Rico
Dowdle.
Dowdle's stats the last 3 games.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
He was good at Carolina. He just couldn't stay healthy.
It took Mike McCarthy
everybody
that
else
long
on
to
that
figure out that
roster.
he was better than Zeke Elliott. I can't, that's coaching malpractice, in my opinion. But hey, whatever.
No, he's good. He's a good player.
You're not mad that your NFC East rival is.
Oh, no. I'm always happy that they can't figure it out. But I'm just like, what do you? And then there's the other side of me that likes to watch excellence in people and how they execute things. And I look over there and I'm like, there's none of that to be found here.
No, none. Wait till they hire Lincoln Riley.
No chance.
From your lips.
That dude's stock has just absolutely cratered.
I would not say no chance, Mike. That is a league that hired Cliff Kingsbury after he'd been fired at Texas Tech to be a head coach.
I get it, but Cliff could say, look at my offenses here. Did I mention I coached Pat Mahomes? Did I mention that we were tops in the Big 12 in offense every year? I don't know what Lincoln Riley hangs his hat on right now after the job he's done at Southern Cal, which is not good at all.
That's terrible.
Which is not good at all.
If Lincoln Riley, I think a little conspiracy theory, if he does take a job like that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Jalen Brooks is also on the Cowboys.
Yeah, Jalen Brooks.
There we go.
I knew we were forgetting.
That might make 6.
Another guy, everybody ripped me a new sphincter on for saying he was good. Carolina got him from Wingate College. So
yeah. Oh yeah, Jalen Brooks. Yeah. That's
all right. So yeah, if he does go, the name for the Southern Cal job is Kalen DeBoer.
Oh God.
Please let that happen.
Wow. Yeah.
Please let that happen. Please let that happen.
Look, if Kalen misses a playoff 2 years in a row, crazier things have happened.
Look, man, we've had usually when we have a quiet coaching carousel season, and things are different now with rev share coming because there's a lot of guys that would have gotten fired if athletic departments aren't going to have to fork out another $20 million on players this July, right?
Right.
But it's been quiet. Usually when it's quiet, then there's a bombshell around the NFL time. You know?
Or next year there could be a bombshell in the SEC. If we go a rare year with no football coaches getting fired. By the way, I don't think any basketball coaches are going to get fired either after this year. Then we could have absolute anarchy next year. There's a lot of coaches that if things don't work out well, I mean, there's 3 off the top of my head that just pop right in, but there's more.
Yeah, a lot's going to be buyouts and budgets, though, man. It's a different world now. When you got to spend $20 million on players, it's totally because people, athletic departments don't have profit. They spend all that they bring in, and so you got to have the margins have to be there, and it has to come from somewhere. So
yeah,
we'll see. All right, fellas, y'all be good.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Yep,
right,
it's
see
been
ya.
fun. We'll do it all again tomorrow inside the Gamecocks The Show. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got JB will be back in the house. Mike, are you back with us tomorrow? Or?
Not tomorrow. I'll be
Not
back
tomorrow.
later on in the week. Yeah,
Wednesday, because I gotta get
Right.
my wife from the airport Wednesday,
That's
so
right.
I won't be here. I'll take my normal Wednesday shift off.
Sounds good. Either
Gotta
way,
have a break from you guys.
we'll be back to talk about it all tomorrow. See you tomorrow on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.